What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a happy edition of the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. How do we start off this show as we always do here on a Monday, Wednesday, and after Bucs games, post-game show? You got to love it, especially when they win, right? Victory Wednesday night. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. A little bit later, about 9:30, we will have Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. We'll have Harry the Greek, of course, here, Mr. Greek himself in the building, talking about what else? Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the big-time matchup versus the Atlanta Falcons in a must-win game. And then, of course, about 10:30, we will have the return of Turnbuckle Talk with WWE and AEW action, talking about CM Punk, because we haven't talked about wrestling in the last couple of weeks here. And then, of course, as always, we'll take your phone calls, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Definitely want to hear from you tonight, Bucs fans. What do you think? Are you confident? What do you think about the win versus the Carolina Panthers? Of course, Sunday, 21-18. Not necessarily the most impressive, if you will, against a one-win team. Do you still have concerns? There could be some concerns, but we're talking about it here. It looks like Levante David and Savasier Dennis returned to practice today, so could they play? This defense definitely needs to play a lot better versus an Atlanta Falcons team that has Bijan Robinson. It knows that they're gonna run the ball, and the Bucs are gonna have to stop it. And of course, they're gonna have to stop defensively Desmond Ridder. So can they get it done? Definitely want to go out to the comments really quick, and then of course we will get out to the legend himself, Leo Haggerty. Let's go out to KR first. Evening, guys. What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Eric says, good show. It's not over yet. It just started. So thank you very much for tuning in, Eric. What's up, Webheads? We want Trask. I'm going to definitely ask Leo about it because I felt like, honestly, Baker Mayfield had his worst game versus the Panthers. And I'm almost getting there. If this offense continues to struggle, if you don't beat the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday, you are toast. You are done. This is a must-win game. Your offense has to play a lot better. Baker Mayfield has to play a lot better. We'll hear from him later on. But I'm getting to that point. And when I get to that point, then you know maybe it's time. Because that was definitely not a great game. I know, wet conditions. You got to play better than that. Your offense has to do a much better job than what they did last Sunday versus a team, let's face it, just fired their coach. You would think it would be a better effort, if you will. When is this team going to come out with urgency? We continue to talk about it week after week. When is it going to happen? Chris Godwin. What, no receptions in that game at all? Well, when Todd Bowles was asked about this, he said that he was subbing out Chris Godwin. Well, it just so happens that actually he played 52 snaps. So what's going on here? Well, Miss Godwin, his wife, has taken exception to it, according to Zach Blobner's Twitter feed here. This was off of Instagram, it looks like, from Miss Godwin. I'm not sure why we are just blatantly lying here. Regardless of how banged up Chris is, he continues to work his ass off. Hasn't missed a game, continues to run great routes and get open. I don't know why things are the way they are. This isn't my team to coach, but this lying on Chris, implying negativity on his work ethic, is infuriating. Excuse me. Let's not act like he had to be subbed out so much more than usual when, in fact, he's been playing just the same. Uh-oh. Somebody got caught in the lie, right? And I can't understand it. Like, I love Mike Evans. Mike Evans did a great job. Congratulations to him on getting his 10th consecutive 1,000-yard receiving season. But why can't this offensive game plan find a way to get Chris Godwin the ball? And I get it, he's banged up. And then from these comments right here, frustration is set in because I don't necessarily think this is just the wife talking. Maybe this is Godwin talking. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get out to the man himself. Here we go. From a Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Let's start out with those comments there from, listen, he met his wife in high school. She's definitely a real one. She's coming out. She's protecting her man and of course, you know, the investment there because they're in this together. So I definitely understand the frustration. Whether it's Baker, whether it's the game plan, no matter what's going on right now, how can you not find a game plan to get the ball to Chris Godwin? Welcome to the Sports Web.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's always a pleasure to be on with the hardest working sportscaster in the Tampa Bay area.
Thank you.
And Peter, I'll tell you what, I never complain after a win, but maybe Atlanta's game plan was to take away Godwin and not Evans because Mike Evans saw single coverage a whole lot of that game.
You mean Carolina? Yeah, I mean, yeah. And you're exactly right. Carolina definitely, and that could have been the game plan, but you know, you look back at the all-22, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's pressure getting to Baker. I don't know if he's, you know, trying to escape the pocket, but I don't know if Chris Godwin's the same player. I think he's still the same player. Maybe he's dealing with some injuries. Maybe he doesn't have the separation. I mean, you were there on Sunday. What do you see?
Well, again, other than the touchdown, which was a yak, all the passes to Evans were short. And Mike Evans normally is not your short receiver. That's going to be Godwin.
Yeah.
So that tells me a little bit after watching Evans catch, 6, 7, 8 yard routes that they thought they could exploit Carolina because Carolina was taking away the short stuff for Godwin because that's where Godwin makes his living.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm not too concerned about it because now what's Atlanta going to do? Now they're going to have to take away Evans after last week. Now Chris Godwin becomes a bigger part of the game plan. So again, that's something. And Peter, you and I saw the game, and it looked like they were making a concerted effort to get Evans involved early.
Yeah.
Because I think they wanted to get that 1,000 yards out of the way against Carolina and not have that hanging over his head for Atlanta. Because now Mayfield may want to go to him more than he needs to. He figured, okay, we can go to him now.
Right.
Because we're playing a 1-10 team. Well, 1-9 team. So,
yeah. Well, it's now 1-10 and all kinds of drama with them, with firing their coach and stuff like that. But, a lot of Bucs fans disappointed, and I can understand it because, again, the lack of urgency doesn't seem to be with this team early on in the game. They get down. A lot of fans concerned, and then they hit the big play there for 75 yards to Mike Evans, which changes the momentum. And then after that, you get a rushing touchdown with an end around, which, Dave Canales.
Chris Godwin, of all people, right?
Right, is incorporating that. I mean, you get him the ball in the run game, but you can't find a way to get him the ball in the passing game. With that being said, I thought this was Baker Mayfield's worst game in a Buccaneer uniform. 14 for 29, 202, one touchdown, one wounded duck there with an interception. I'm just going to say it slipped out of his hand. But, that's 4 consecutive games now. He has an interception. Is there cause for concern? Is Baker the guy? And once again, if this team continues to struggle offensively and you lose to the Atlanta Falcons, which is, a winnable game, let's just say you're playing in this game and you're struggling versus the Atlanta Falcons. Do the Bucs have to make a change to Kyle Trask, or do you just chalk it up once again as a bad game by Baker Mayfield?
Well, you know what, Peter? I don't think the problem is going to be on offense in Atlanta. The problem is going to be on defense.
Okay.
And I don't know if you caught the question I asked Todd Bowles. I said, you're playing dime almost exclusively. He said, I'm out of linebackers. And he said the next guy in was a cornerback. So what does that tell you? I'm amazed that Carolina didn't pick up on that and just run a football right at the safety who was playing linebacker, figuring, okay, he can't know what he's doing in there. He's just in there to make it legal.
Yeah.
So, they got to get their linebackers back on the field. That's the big thing. Because if they don't, it's going to be a problem because, now you got Bijan Robinson running up on a safety and not up on a linebacker or a defensive lineman.
Yeah, you definitely got to do that as I'm looking like alfalfa sprout here with my hair sticking up. I love these new headphones.
Hold on, wait a second. Here we go. Ready? Here we go.
I'm like, what in the world is going on here? We're live on the Sports Web, the evolution
Just
of
call me Spanky, big boy, and we can handle it.
That's it. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. So we talked about offense. I mean, Evans in this game, 7 for 162. He's been a Panther killer. Talk about his career overall. I say he's a first ballot Hall of Famer right now. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He has nothing else to prove, but his career is long from being over with yet. What do you say about Mr. Mike Evans? 10 consecutive years of 1,000 receiving yards. Tremendous.
And I think he's a year short of the record.
Yes, from Jerry Rice.
Yes.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry
could
Rice.
Be the greatest wide receiver of all time. Not only the greatest wide receiver of all time, Leo Haggerty, but maybe one of the greatest NFL players of all time. And Mike Evans has the opportunity to not only tie that, but surpass him. And still I hear people say he's not a Hall of Famer, and I just don't know why. Look, I get it. Every wide receiver has their fair share of drops. But Mike Evans, the kind of quarterbacks that he's had to play with, and that's why I say he is a Hall of Famer, because he's never played with an Aaron Rodgers like a Devontae Adams before. He hasn't played with the Tom Brady. Can you imagine if you play with the consistent quarterback, a top upper echelon quarterback, how much numbers he would have?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Peter, if he gets to 12 in a row and sets the record, end of story. You're a Hall of Famer. And again, we talked to Iris Kaufman about these things. Rondé Barber got in the Hall of Fame because he created the nickel corner. And again, if you do something like that, you know what? That's what they're looking at. That's what they're looking at. Splash plays. Mike Evans, if he ties Jerry Rice, I think he's in. If he doesn't and goes to 12, he's definitely in. I mean, Ira Kaufman can get up and just say Mike Evans and sit back down, because he won't even have to explain that. And that's an easy one.
Yeah, it's definitely an easy one here, Leo Haggerty. I mean, let's go back out to some of these comments here. Hi, Peter Blake. Thank you very much, Eric, for tuning in. As always, Tampa Bay Lightning 3-0 over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Roger says, hit the thumbs up. Roger again. Dynamite is on. Keep this short. Listen, Roger, you don't have to watch this. I know this has become your thing. But when you say Dynamite is on, keep it short, I'm not going to keep it short. In fact, I'm going to go as long as I want to here. Tribal
acknowledge me.
All right, so let's go out to Tim here. What's up? Christopher Cole, Lightning up 3-0. Thank you for the update. Chris Godwin rumors. We'll talk about it. Mike COC facts. Eric, Chris Godwin's wife is mad. We're talking about that. Alexander, I said before the game on Sunday when I seen injury report, I thought Godwin was out, that Baker would force to Evans, and that's 80% of his yardage would go to Evans, and that's exactly what happened. And honestly, we don't have the true depth there, and I get it. A lot of people said, beginning of the season, they wanted to, let Mike Evans go, get rid of him, trade him. I mean, I can't imagine what this offense would be without Evans. But once again, The concerning thing for me is Godwin. Is it because the majority of the year Godwin's been playing outside, and with BA he played the slot? Is that a problem for him? Should they move him back into the slot situation? I think they did that so he didn't have to block as much on the running game. What do you say?
Well, you know what, Peter, when you play the slot, that means you're going up against the safety or you're going up against the linebacker, because now you got a corner on one side, you got a corner on the other. Now, who's going to cover?
Yeah.
Unless you go man the whole time and you lock the corners up on Evans and you lock them up on Godwin. So again, if they go into the slot, somebody's in there, somebody's going to have a little bit easier time because there's not going to be a cover guy. That was the biggest problem that Gronkowski created for defense, especially within the base.
Yeah.
When you split that tight end out, all of a sudden, okay, who's covering him? Is it a linebacker? Is it a safety? Because now he's the slot guy. Now it gets interesting.
Yeah, now it definitely gets interesting. You're going to play an Atlanta Falcon team, which the last 2 weeks here, you'll play the Jets. So you win that, not in impressive fashion, but you're holding teams under 16 points. I mean, what do you see with this matchup? Of course, the Bucs lost the first one, 16-13 at Raymond James Stadium. And for me, I honestly thought they could have won that game if Baker doesn't throw that ill-advised throw, and the defense is able, of course, to get off the field, especially on that last drive, because Antoine Winfield Jr., oh, by the way, defensive player of the week, Mr. Antoine Winfield, 8 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 1 partridge in the pear tree. The guy's done everything imaginable for this defense to be successful. He did it against the Falcons in the first matchup. Can they do this again? Can this defense slow down, a Desmond Ridder led? Because I don't think Ridder's a very good quarterback, although the Falcons right now coming into this game are 6-4, and most likely they're going to try to take the pressure off of Ridder by running with Bijan Robinson. What do you say?
Peter, are they 6-4? I thought they were just 1 game ahead of the Bucs.
Yeah, let me just see here, because I was under the impression they're 6-4. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, I don't think so, because the Bucs are 6-7, right? Or 5-7.
Bucs are 5-7, and yes, the Falcons. No, excuse me. The Falcons are 6-6.
6-6, yeah, because it's basically a game for first place. You can have all 3 teams right there.
Yeah.
After this one, and see, Peter, you looked at that game like the Bucs were 1 play away from winning the game. I looked at it that Atlanta was, they fumbled 3 times inside the Buccaneer 5-yard line. Once going into the end zone, that could have easily been 31-13 for the Falcons. So, and again, I think Bijan Robinson played 1 play. So they don't got a whole lot of film on him yet. So that's going to be interesting. I think the biggest thing the Bucs have to do when they get up to Atlanta is not get behind. And I don't know if you caught the question I asked Baker in the presser afterwards. I said, hey, was Evans was he the main target, or did you work through a progression? He goes, no, he wasn't the main target till the safety rolled up top. So again, he picked that up, waited for Evans to clear the corner, because the safety, now it wasn't a 2 deep, it was a single high.
Yeah, and he threw for 275 against them. But again, you go back to it, they have an opportunity to put points on the board, and an ill-advised throw, which you get no points, and it's a force. You can't do it. And it's been that way with Baker. It seems like he's locking on his first read. Is that what you see there? Is he not going through his progressions enough? Is this the reason why a lot of teams shied away from Mayfield? Because he does lock on to his first read instead of going through his progressions or taking the check down, if you will.
Well, right now he doesn't trust his offensive line. You can see that. That's the biggest problem. So I don't think he's going past the first or the second progression. That ball's coming out, because right now it's just up. He's running for his life, and you know what? Thank God we don't have Tom Brady back there, because he's the Statue of Liberty now. Yeah.
Definitely Statue of Liberty. Let's go out to the phone lines here, Leo. We got Eric on the line. Eric leading it off here on the Sports Web. What do you have to say, my friend?
And what's up, man?
What's going on?
Do you think Cowboys' job is safe now? What do you think?
I don't think Todd Bowles' job is safe at all. I mean, let me ask you, Leo.
After the win?
Hold on. Let me ask Leo. I don't think his job is safe at this point because this is a must-win game. And if you don't win it, more than likely you're toast. So for me, you got to win from here on out, especially these division games, in order to win the NFC South. Leo, do you feel the same way?
Oh, I think if he'd have lost Sunday, we'd have seen a coaching change. Definitely.
Right.
So it saved his job. Again, I think Sunday, Peter, we had Ron Jaworski on. Every Sunday it's a must-win. We know that. But mathematically, they're still not out of it, no matter what happens. If they win, it's a tie. If they lose, they're 2 back with, 4 to go. And again, they got to go to Green Bay the following week. Then they get Jacksonville at home. Then they get New Orleans at home. Then they got to go back up to Carolina. So, you know what? Weather doesn't play an issue except for Green Bay. So,
question to you guys. If we lose this week, is Baker on the bench or we start Kyle Trask?
Yes, I think Baker is on the bench this week if you lose. Because, again, I still think if you lose this week, you're on life support. And if the offense struggles, I think you're going to Kyle Trask.
Let's say we do lose this week with 2 games back. If we win the next 4, we can still make the playoffs.
Yeah, but then you lose the tiebreaker versus the Atlanta Falcons. That's the thing.
That means we get a wild card spot. Then we have 2 divisions. We have a divisional winner and we have a wild card winner.
I don't see the Bucs. I just don't. I'm sorry. I'm not.
It's either going to be the Eagles or the Cowboys. Is one of those.
Yeah, I mean, even if you do make it, you have to run the table. For me, in order to really get into the playoffs, you have to win your division because then you get that home playoff game. Eric, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you.
One more thing I want to say to you guys.
Yes.
Man, do you think Tubbo's is lying with Chris Godwin thing? Do you think that he's lying about that? Because I heard some people say Tubbo should be fired because if Tubbo is here next year.
Listen. Todd Bowles is not going to be fired because of this. But if you look at the numbers, 52 snaps is quite a bit. That's his average. So,
do you think Chris Godwin will ask for a trade if Todd Bowles is here next season?
I don't know at this point. I don't know if Todd Bowles is here. Again, Todd Bowles and this Bucs team has to win going forward, especially these division games, and it starts on Sunday. Eric, thanks a lot for the call.
If you have to say, what's the chances of winning this Sunday if you guys have to guess?
I don't know. I honestly don't know at this point. Eric, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you as always. Let me go back out to the phone lines here. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Leo Haggerty. Go.
Hello, it's Alexander. How y'all doing?
Oh, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Alexander, calling from Lakeland.
Oh, what's going on, Alexander? Welcome to the Sports Web.
What's going on? So I'm gonna start first with the Godwin thing, since that's the first thing you come on.
Yeah.
I think Todd Bowles is trying to cover for Dave Canales and his rookie offensive coordinator job. Because as we all know, Godwin has always been a main feature into our offense when it comes to passing, whether it's screen plays, whether it's jet sweeps, trick plays, no matter what.
Right.
And he's just not getting the targets. We're not even running anything besides a jet sweep for him at this point. You know what I'm saying? So defense is not worried about a Godwin. If Evans in the game, he gets all the double teams. They even triple Evans at times and leave Godwin one-on-one, and he's still not even beating the one-on-one press. So I feel like we're severely overpaying him for one.
Well, I don't think you're severely overpaying him. I just think right now it's either not working in this offense, Baker's not able to find him, but we all know what Chris Godwin can do and the previous offenses as a slot receiver. And I think it's a change of position also. I think, predominantly the majority of the time, Godwin played in the slot. He didn't play outside. This year, they're playing him outside because they're trying to save him from that type of injury. Right, Leo?
Yeah. And again, Peter, I agree with what Alexander is saying, except for last week. We saw way too much single coverage with Evans. They were rolling the coverage to Godwin. And they figured, okay, we take away Godwin. Evans is getting a little long in the tooth. Maybe. And again, Mike Evans torched him. So look for Atlanta to do just exactly what Alexander said. They're going to double team Mike Evans,
Yeah.
and then you're going to see a whole lot of Chris Godwin featured.
And it looks like A.J. Terrell may not play in this game because of concussion protocol, so that's an advantage for the Bucs. Hopefully they take advantage of it, but you're exactly right here, Leo. And going back to the caller here, they're going to bracket that coverage to Mike Evans, and that's where hopefully if the offensive line gives Baker the time, which they have, in the passing situations, he needs to go through his progressions. If you have Chris Godwin open, you need to go to Chris Godwin. You need to go to Trey Palmer or Cade Otton. And furthermore, if he does go to those wide receivers, they got to catch the ball because the Bucs receivers this year have had lots of problems with catching the ball consistently besides a Mike Evans.
And you know what, Peter? That's a league-wide thing. And again, I mentioned it the last time I was on. My son, Sean, who he actually said that he has never seen so many drops in college and the NFL of catchable balls. Now, we're not talking about a guy diving for the ball. We're just talking about catchable balls. We used to go 2-3 games, and we would never see a drop of a catchable ball. Now, there's at least one every game.
Yeah, and then on top of it, coming into the season, Baker was great when it came to throwing the ball down the field. And whether it's drops or him losing confidence in his wide receivers or losing confidence in his offensive line, it has to be better. And somebody put it out there. You're watching these games in the press box. I am. And I'm getting frustrated because I was a guy coming into the season saying, you know what? I understand where the Bucs are going with starting Baker Mayfield. I understand that. But if he's not hitting these reads, if he's not hitting these passes, and this offense continues to struggle, and I get it, it may not be his fault, but he also may not be a part of the solution. So maybe you look at Trask, but I don't think you do that unless you're really struggling and you're basically out of it and you lose the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. Alexander, what else?
Okay, so another thing I'm going to point out, as y'all keep saying about Godwin is not playing slot. The only reason why Godwin is not playing slot right now is because Russell Gage injury. We don't have, after Godwin, all our receivers is under 5'10".
All you see is what now? I'm sorry?
All our receivers is under the height of 5'10" after Godwin. So you can't put no 5'9" receiver at outside and think he's going to do anything besides catch bubble screens.
Well, I mean, they can get separation. If they can get separation, if they're not getting any separation, then yeah. But that again goes back to game planning, and this also goes back to Dave Canales scheming those wide receivers to be open, and we knew that there was going to be some difficulty because he's never called plays. But it's week 14 now. Your offense has to start turning it on and scoring some points because we know that your defense is not the greatest, and they're banged up right now. They have some injuries, so. They played well versus the Carolina Panthers. They made some plays, had 4 sacks, but Atlanta is a totally different story. They're going to come in here, try to run the ball. They're going to try to take the pressure off of Desmond Ridder, and they still have some weapons on the outside. So you got to score more points than 21, 22 points. I feel like you got to score, to me, 24 points, and I think you'd be pretty comfortable in saying, this defense can do their job. But I don't know. We've seen, up and down. It's been a roller coaster ride when it comes to watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. Anything else?
Lastly, I'm going to say this, and y'all can touch bases on it. I thought the last couple of seasons that Leftwich wasn't doing as great of a job as an OC as I felt like our offense should be producing, especially last year.
Mm-hmm.
But this goes to show you that there's really levels to this coaching because we was literally, I felt like we was one of the best passing teams the last year. Not just with Brady, but the style of offense we played, we was pass first. We're going strictly from straight passing now to just trying to be a run dominant team when we haven't successfully ran the ball since Doug Martin. Be honest.
Oh, yeah. No, but I think it's starting to come together here because the positive thing is you go back to Rashad White, 20 carries, 84 yards the last couple weeks, 185 yards. So they're trying to get that run game together, and they're going to need to get that run game together. So once again, you take the pressure off of Baker Mayfield and you become balanced. Alexander, thanks a lot for the call. Definitely use that second call here and don't be a stranger on the evolution. Appreciate you, boss. All right.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Good stuff there from him. I mean, he hits on a lot of things there. And going back to what he said about, the 5'9" wide receiver, unless they're getting separation, can they Is that what it's all about? The size on the outside? That's the reason why you're having such difficulty? I mean, what do you say? Did the Bucs need to get bigger in that situation?
Oh, yeah. Plain and simple. Because Mike Evans, being 6'5", playing against a 6-foot cornerback, he has separation as soon as he turns around if the ball's thrown in the right place.
Right.
That's why when Mayfield threw that thing up a 50-50 ball, I wasn't too hurt about that, because you know what? You got Mike Evans there, and it was one of those 60-70% of the time he's going to come up with that, or there's going to be pass interference. Now, Peter, you and I don't know what pass interference is anymore. It is really, I have no clue. There's only one thing that I don't know, and that's why Florida State isn't in the college football playoffs.
Well, I'll tell you right now, that was a travesty, as Booker McFarland said on ESPN on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. I was shocked by it. I don't know how a team that's from a Power 5 conference, that's undefeated, that does everything they need to do, and what's held against them is what they cannot control, ladies and gentlemen. They could not control their star quarterback from going down. But if you think that that was the only thing that made this team go this year, you're sadly mistaken. You must have not watched this football team, because you have Keon Coleman on the outside. You have Johnny Wilson, which, by the way, is not going to play in the Orange Bowl now. He's going to the NFL draft. You have a defense that held Louisville under control, that's averaging 33 points a game, that got after it and only gave up 6 points. Since when do you have to be an offensive juggernaut in order to win games? I just thought that, you had 3 phases of a game. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the twilight zone here. Offense, defense, and special teams, especially defense. And you know what they say? Offense sells tickets. It may get the girl, but defense wins championships. Go ahead, Leo.
Well, Peter, do we have 20 minutes? Because that's about, I'll tell you what. I call them idiots, because they are.
Right.
The committee is a joke. And the fact that there are coaches on that committee that didn't stand up and say, hey, those guys came together for 3 games. They survived 3 games. They did what they needed to do to get to 13-0. This is the biggest black eye on the NCAA that they've ever had. Yeah. Because you basically told a team that did everything you wanted to, 13-0, won a Power 5 conference championship, and you told them they weren't good enough to a 1-loss team because they didn't have SEC behind their conference moniker.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, watching Greg Stanky Saturday morning beg for 2 SEC teams to get in, it was laughable. It was embarrassing. And the fact that Nick Saban can sit up there and actually say, well, we're better than them. You lost to Texas at home.
By
that
10.
You out immediately.
You survived Auburn. If you don't beat Auburn on a Hail Mary on 4th and 31, you lose that game. You have no right. I understand it. I don't understand Texas, but once again, it's not all just about the quarterback. And anybody thinks, well, that's the reason why it was. No, it's not, because the SEC is in bed with ESPN. They knew about it. Even Paul Feinbaum talked about this yesterday.
Absolutely.
That FSU rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. They should have rubbed them the wrong way, because the ACC, a bunch of cowards, has said nothing ever since Florida State was excluded from going to the playoff. They've said nothing on their behalf. And if I'm Florida State tomorrow, I get the hell out of that conference. I would boycott the game in the Orange Bowl. I would come out there, and somebody told me this, it was on the JP Peterson show. Go out there, have all the players take all the benefits, take all their money, everything. Go out there, take a knee, say we're not playing the freaking game. You know why? Because ESPN and everybody doesn't think it means anything. So if it doesn't mean anything, it does mean something. It means money. That's what you do to rich people. That's how you take them. You hit them right in the pocket. That's exactly what Florida State and their players need to do. They need to boycott this game, not play it. They have nothing to gain by it because everybody's going to say, every SEC fan, every SEC honk is going to say, oh, I told you so. I told you so. You dumbass. Everybody's going to the draft. You dumbass. Everybody's going to the transfer portal. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything to these kids. These kids came back. Jordan Travis, I feel bad for, not only for the injury, because he could have went to the draft last year. He didn't. He came back. Why? To win a national championship. Johnny Wilson could have went into the NFL draft. He didn't. He came back. Jared Verse came back to what? Have an opportunity to win a national championship, and 13 fraudulent scumbags decided to take that opportunity and take that great chance from this team when they did everything possible to at least have a chance to win a national championship. You guys act like Miss freaking Cleo out there with your psychic abilities.
And you know what, Peter? We sat there and we listened to all these media talking heads try to make excuse after excuse. Oh, the SEC for the last 15 years, bogus. You look at this year, you are what your record says you are. The one guy comes out and says, well, they didn't win a 40-14 game. Well, hey, Svengali, tell me that's something you know. You play the game on the field. That's something you just have to do. And I'll tell you what, Peter, you saw what I put out Saturday.
Yeah.
I said exactly before these games started, here's what's going to happen. Washington, Michigan, Florida State are going to win. Texas is going to win, and so's Alabama. I want to see if the committee's got the balls to actually say to Alabama, guess what? You're number 5. You're not number 4.
And, of course, they don't have the testicular fortitude as my guy right here, the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, from a Coach Scout and Now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports.
And, Peter, you know why it was a lie?
Yeah.
Because if you thought Alabama was better than Florida State, you had to think Georgia and Ohio State was too, for the same reason.
Right.
But those people are so stupid, and you can't fix stupid. They put Florida State 5 thinking, we'll keep them up there to appease them. Well, guess what? You just showed what a bunch of idiots you are, because you have no idea. And you know what, Peter? They came up and they said, well, you got to use the eye test. You know what the eye test is? It's not this. It's I for idiot. Because they think we're idiots. They think we didn't see through this. And to sit there and say, well, the thought of an SEC team never came up. Oh, God, stop.
Yeah.
Stop lying to us.
Yep.
Just say, hey, you're bought and paid for. ESPN said we can't have Florida State in there. We can't play without an SEC team. And guess what? If Georgia would have won, it would have solved all the problems.
Here's how superior SEC football is. 6-4 this year. The ACC made them their bitch. Leo, thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of sports talk television, my friend.
Yeah, and you know what, Peter? We got to get away from the idea that the SEC is a dominant conference. It's a two-horse conference. Georgia and Alabama, same thing. The Big Ten, it's a two-horse conference. Michigan, Ohio State. Yeah. It's Clemson and Florida State. You know what? Tell me it's playing Vanderbilt and South Carolina isn't like having a bye week. Stop telling me you're a great conference. You're as good as everybody else. And, Peter, next year is going to be fun because those college playoffs, the first rounds are at the home site. I want to see some of these southern schools go up to Columbus, to Madison, Wisconsin, to Happy Valley up in Pennsylvania. I want to see how they play in the cold weather. That's going to be fun to watch. Peter, as usual, we enjoyed it. One last thing. We are going to have a party on New Year's Day, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. Reliant Quest Bowl. It looks like we're all going to be credentialed. Not only yours truly, you, but also this guy right here, right there. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy will be with us live. And what's the matchup again? Is it LSU versus Wisconsin?
Wisconsin.
Yes,
Wisconsin.
that's a pretty damn good matchup, and hopefully the Heisman Trophy possibly winning quarterback plays in that game, Jaden Daniels, right?
I don't think he will. I
No.
wouldn't. I
Right.
wouldn't. Would
Right.
you, Ray? I wouldn't.
This day and age, no. Obviously, it's a business, and like you guys were just talking about, Florida State not getting in that top 4, and it's not just as we get NIL and legalized gambling, and we continue to move away from the student athlete and the beauty. And college football is still going to be beautiful, but the romanticism and the historical, as we move away from that, it becomes down to it's a business. It's a bottom line business. So a couple of years ago, half a decade, maybe a few years, you'd blame these players for opting out of these games, like Caleb Williams or whomever. But nowadays, you've got to do it. It's par for the course. It's business. And as we've learned, it's business.
Well, hopefully he plays in this
Ray,
game.
Ray, put your hand up, Ray, because I'm going to tag you because you're in now. All right? There you go,
Leo.
There you go.
Take care, guys.
All right. Appreciate you. Leo Haggerty right there, the legend himself. Let's come out to Tampa Bay Ray. Let's go back out to our comments. If you have anything to say about FSU, if I didn't say enough about it, if you haven't heard enough about it, get on the phone line. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. You want to say anything about FSU being snubbed? What did you think about it? I know you're a Gator fan, but put your Gator bias aside. What did you think of that decision on Sunday? You actually predicted this on Saturday afternoon, correct?
Yeah, and it was with the seeding of 12 next year, the expanded playoffs. Playoffs. I said, I said the committee, for the first time, all 13 committee members got into a room and they locked themselves in. And, it's like when they picked the Pope there in Rome, they're going to burn the white when you see the white or the gray smoke out of the chimney, you'll know if they've got a new Pope. And the first time they locked themselves in, and you just felt that was going to go that way, that Florida State wasn't going to get it. And not in deserving, they should have been there. And I felt as if last year's TCU, and I'm not comparing Florida State to TCU, but TCU got in there last year, and Sonny, and they're like, oh, it's going to be a great, and then TCU just failed to show up. And I felt like the committee had an excuse to exclude Florida State expanding. I think, Peter, if they weren't expanding to 12, the expanded playoffs next year of 12, or TCU hadn't lost as bad playoffs as bad as they did last season, I think the committee would have had even less of an excuse to do this. And I don't know if they did the right thing or not, but they certainly, in my book, it feels like they did not do the right thing.
They didn't do the right thing, and the TCU, nonsense that I've heard all week long. TCU didn't even win their conference. They had one loss. They still got in, and people fail to realize this. Or, well, they got blown out 65-7 to Georgia. Yeah, but they got to the national championship game because they unseated Michigan. And nobody thought the TCU was going to do that. So enough with the nonsense of, well, Florida State, they're a different team and all this other garbage. It's nonsense. Just come out and say, look, we wanted the SEC team in Alabama. We actually wanted Georgia in there, but we couldn't get Georgia because if we got Georgia in there, then all the Texas people would be in their feelings. With that being said, let's go out to the comments here. I know you want to read some of these comments. Let's go out to Alexander, Bulls is trying to cover his rookie OC who didn't know how to scheme. Now, the controversy started here about an hour ago with Chris Godwin, in so many words, Chris Godwin's wife, calling out Todd Bowles. I read the comments already. Don't know if you saw those. I mean, what do you think of that situation? Because just to paraphrase, she was basically saying Bowles is lying about what Godwin means and how he's not injured. I mean, he is injured. He's playing through injuries. But he took 52 snaps, so it wasn't like he was getting subbed out like Todd Bowles said when he was asked why Chris Godwin doesn't have more targets and more catches. What do you make of this situation? Because a lot of people will say, well, that's Chris Godwin's wife, but that could be also Chris Godwin speaking through her. What do you say?
Well, and I said this before this season, the only way I did not see Todd Bowles, regardless of what happened on the field record-wise, the only way I saw Todd Bowles not as the coach in 2024, and I'm not saying now he's out the door because of this, is if he loses that locker room. So I don't know if it's he said, she said, he said, or Chris. I know Chris with the with the neck, and he shows up and he plays because he's still a baller. But if stuff like this is starting to happen, then that's the early canary in the coal mine that there's an issue that if Todd Todd Bowles is starting to lose this team. If these players are not lining up behind coach, then that tells me that it's not just because he stands so stoically cross-armed on the sidelines and he's not a passionate person. And it tells me that maybe there's more where there's smoke, there's probably fire. So, I mean, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned, because it certainly seems like there's some other stuff going on, and you hate to hear this because they got an important game on Sunday. And let's face it, it's a do-or-die game versus the Atlanta Falcons. They barely beat the Carolina Panthers 21-18. A win is a win. It's ugly, but you still get the win. How confident are you with this Bucs team going into Atlanta, taking care of business and staying in this NFC South on Sunday?
Well, I'm confident, Peter, in knowing that if the Buccaneers can't show up in Atlanta on Sunday and shut the Falcons down for most part, like they did the first half of the last time they played, and of course in the second half, because of the offense's failure to move the ball and control the clock, Arthur Smith, and they were able to figure out something that worked, and that's what they're going to do. I'm confident to know that if the Buccaneers don't win in Atlanta this week, then I don't want anything to do with the playoffs. Because this is the game. This is where rubber meets the road. You've got to not only beat the Falcons, so you've got to, possibly to win the South. But if you can't get up for a divisional game and get on the road after a victory over the Carolina Panthers, we can talk about maybe they do this against, so-and-so. Maybe they go to Green Bay and they can play below 48 degrees. The Buccaneers finally can win in the cold or what have you in this team's historical narrative. They have to win this week in Atlanta, in Megatron's butthole or whatever you call that stadium where the Falcons play. They've got to go in there and they got to man up. Otherwise, then you start to go, well, maybe it's not so bad picking in a top 10. Maybe it's not so bad they don't have a first place schedule in 2024.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I got frustrated. I was talking about this the other day, and I was talking to Rock Riley, and I said, this offense has got to start doing something, and we can't continue to give excuse after excuse for Baker Mayfield. And I've been a guy who says, well, it's the offensive line. Well, it's the wide receivers, and maybe some of that. But also, Baker has to shoulder that blame. And you look at the statistics against the Panther defense, it's not very good. I mean, 14 for 29, 202. The majority of that is for the Mike Evans play. What's your take on Baker Mayfield? And if this team does struggle, say in the first half versus the Falcons, or they lose versus the Falcons, do you make the switch to Kyle Trask?
You know what kills me, Peter, about this? It's a complex question. I'll tell you why. I was approached by somebody, a nice young lady this week, and we were talking ball. I was talking to a couple of guys, and I mentioned, hey, maybe you've caught me in the sports web. My guy, Peter Blake, we're locking it down. We're credentialed for the Reliant Quest. We're covering the Bulls. And she actually asked me, honest to goodness, she actually asked me, she said, what's this stuff about Baker Mayfield and whether he's striving or diving this year? And I said, well, the guy's got game. He's really trying. The Dave Canales offense, it may be more suited for a 6'5" Geno Smith. I mean, Kyle Trask to sit in the pocket and read a defense, but he's still a good quarterback. I love this kid. And she actually said to me, because my daughter had requested to get a Baker Mayfield Buccaneers jersey for Christmas, and she said Santa's already put one under the tree. And that put it in perspective for me, because I can make an argument to why maybe we want to see what the Gainesville gunslinger can do, or maybe what they could possibly do.
Gainesville gunslinger said by nobody ever.
Nobody.
I've heard it all. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Gainesville gunslinger. Go ahead, have at it. Go.
I'll make it short, brother, because I want to get back to the comments. But I'll tell you this. You know what? I would leave it to the coaches. I leave it to the guys in the room that are making these decisions. And as bad as I'd like to see what the kid from Manville, the Eagle Scout from Manville High can do, or that put Philippi Franks back on the bench, who's now basically a tight end for these Falcons they'll see on Sunday. At the end of the day, Baker has not lost a job. And you know what? They finally figured out that when the defense is cheating 9 or 10 in the box, run an end around to Trey Palmer. Run it around outside. The problem I've had with this offense this season, and it almost feels like it comes from the top of the Todd Bowles, is Todd Bowles almost reminds me in this respect on offense like Tony Dungy back with Clyde Christensen 100 years ago. Don't try to trick them. Don't run outside. Don't throw a pitch. Don't run an end around, or don't throw, because we just want to beat them. No, we want to nose to the grindstone, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Heck no. If they're cheating guys into the box because Baker has to scramble out to pass, or because Rashad White, run an end around, soften the defense up, run where they're not. And we saw that, Peter. We saw that against these, and it was the Panthers. At the end of the day, though, those are 53 paid professionals on that sideline. And we can talk about the 1-10 or now 1-11 Panthers, but that's still a professional football team. The Buccaneers got a little creative with the offense last week. They're going to need to do that again this week against these Falcons. And if they continue to do that and get this running game going, then I think that we still have a chance to be the Buccaneers that we thought they would be the entire 2023 season.
Yeah, let's get back to that 3-1 start. Let's get back to, balanced football, playing good defense, causing turnovers, running the ball. The running game has been the positive the last couple of weeks there with Rashad White, 84 yards there, big play to close it out. We'll see versus a Falcons team that is susceptible, but they're going to be tough. They want to win at home, and they could put the Bucs out of their misery at this point with the win, and they would gain that tiebreaker. All right, let's see. Baker missed him a bunch, but why no shots at Baker or Canales? I mean, we're taking our shots. Todd Bowles must be lying. Eric says we want Bowles fired. You hear this from the fan base. I get it. I understand it. It's the same thing we've heard throughout the year with the lack of urgency and not the players not taking accountability. But I think, again, before you say he's going to be fired, let him finish out the season. Let's see if the Bucs can win the NFC South. Let's see if they can win a playoff game, and then the Glazers will make that decision. And
playoffs,
and that they don't at least win one of those playoff games, I think he's done. I really do. Not a good look on Coach Bowles. This might be the start of the end of Coach in Tampa. Yikes! Now you got players' wives going after you about their husbands' play on the field. You know I'm right. Bowles is done regardless. Eric says if Godwin leaves next year, screw Bowles here. Next year, Godwin asks. Everybody relax, okay? There's no trade right now, Eric. Nobody's asking for a trade. There's definitely some disagreement here. And more than likely, if there's a problem between Bowles and Godwin, Bowles will be the one that sees the door. Just saying. Honestly speaking, we severely are overpaying for Godwin. I don't necessarily think you're overpaying for him. I don't know if he works in this offense right now. He may be banged up. He may not be working, but they're still playing him at 52 snaps. So that whole question about subbing him out, no, they're not, because it shows 52 snaps.
Well, and the thing is with Chris Godwin, I mean, overpaying, no. That cat's earned every dollar he's getting and then some, and he's going to be a WR1 somewhere. He's a WR2 in Tampa Bay by default, but let's be honest, after the performance last week, Mike Evans continues to get better. He gets that 10th 1,000-yard season. He's setting the records. And Lord knows I heard from Bucs fans out there and Bucs, everybody out there. I put that question out there about Mike Allstott, Mike Evans. And again, we just posed the question because it's a generational thing. And then the thing about this medium is let's all talk. Let's have a good time remembering, and let's make arguments for the reasons for this and that. But the truth of the matter is, if it comes down to the fact that they got to trade Chris Godwin because they've got to find the money to sign Mike Evans to keep him here in Tampa Bay, I don't want to lose a guy like Chris Godwin if we don't have to. But if it means at the cost of keeping Mike Evans and putting the money elsewhere at the end of the day, maybe that's the reason why Mrs. Godwin's out there saying stuff, is because maybe the writing's on the wall. It's not that we want to get rid of Chris Godwin, but maybe she realizes, again, it's a business and this is something that might happen.
I just think there's a lot of frustration right now. I think we're jumping the gun here about trades and him going to another team and all this other stuff. Everybody's frustrated right now because this offense has all this talent. You have a plethora of talent, Leo word, and you're not able to score, over 20 points a game. It's disappointing. I get it. The last 2 years have been disappointing. Let's go out to Dino. Good point, Peter. Trask should be given an opportunity. I have him ready. I mean, Dino, thanks a lot for tuning in here. Met you before the game there outside of the stadium, taking a picture. My story about being the Rolex reporter. It was kind of cool meeting fans there, talking to them, say, what are you doing? And I'm doing a sports talk show. I do a streaming show on the field. So thanks a lot for tuning in, being a friend. Godwin was open a lot, says Christopher Cole. Alexander says Baker playing hurt. As long as he says he's okay to go out there, they're going to let him. Baker's not confident in the starting role. He knows Trask can get out there, open the offense up, which has been around for a couple years. It's no way Baker becomes the starter even when he is back fully healthy again. If Trask does play well, I can't see it either. If Trask doesn't play this year, it means draft a quarterback next year. That's what Eric says. What do you say?
I'm telling you what, Misador, everyone out there, if Kyle Trask sees the field, especially in this offense right now, then we always used to remember 10, 15, 20 years ago, oh, player will never lose his position due to injury. If Kyle Trask gets to the field, regardless of the reason, he's not coming back off. And I'm telling you why, because I have no doubt that I have no doubt he'll find success. And I it's not that I'm a soothsayer or something like that. I just know that in Geno Smith to Kyle Trask, a pocket passer, it opens up the defense, it softens it up, and Kyle Trask can read the defense. Now, the thing is Kyle Trask will still make rookie mistakes, because the one thing everyone's right is the guy's thrown a total of 20 passes in his 4-year NFL career. So he is definitely green. He's wet behind the ears, but he can make the passes from the pocket. We've seen it. We saw it when he came in. I know, Peter, he almost threw that interception and gets called back with the false start, but he almost hit Godwin on a downright beautiful time pattern to the right-hand flat there in the corner, and he can play ball. If Kyle Trask gets on the field, regardless of the reason, he's not going to give it back up. And I don't know if that's good or bad for the Bucs, because it either means we're going to draft a quarterback high anyway, which we're probably going to do, or we're going to have to figure out a way to come up with some money to pay one of these two to stay here.
Well, you're going to evaluate. You're going to have to evaluate your quarterback situation. And then at that point, I feel like you're done, because if you're playing Kyle Trask, then you're saying the season is over with. Because in my opinion, and I get it, there's, backup quarterbacks around the league, but here's a quarterback who only has a couple, like 10, 11 snaps in his career. I mean, that's basically a rookie quarterback.
Well, can I ask you though, Peter? Go ahead. Sorry, so if the plan is to go after a Penix or a Nix or a Drake May or whoever may be possibly available for the Bucs, if Jason Light's evaluating, he goes, look, we want to get a quarterback under a rookie contract that gives us 4 years and a 5th-year option. We can reset this clock with the dogs that we currently have on his team. Sure. Then it probably behooves Jason Light to not put a Kyle Trask in, because if Kyle Trask comes in and does have success, and then he doesn't figure out a way to keep that kid moving forward, people, fans are, and they're not just always about, well, it's the best thing for the team. It's also about narratives and story. People love a story. And the truth of the matter is, if a 2nd-round pick who spent 2 years behind the greatest of all time, who was supposed to be the heir apparent, comes in and shows the inclination to possibly be the heir apparent, then maybe Jason Light doesn't have a chance to go ahead and draft a 1st-round.
That's all right. That's okay. Then you can focus on other positions, like possibly, going after an edge
linebacker.
Going after a linebacker, because I don't think Devin White's going to be back, nor should he be back, even at a discounted rate. I think you go with Savasi Dennis. You figure out a way how you can get Levante David re-signed, or you possibly draft. You could go interior line. You don't necessarily have to go quarterback. If you lose a Mike Evans, which is certainly a possibility, or you move on from a Chris Godwin, you think you can get more value. Maybe you draft one of these wide receivers out there. There's plenty of positions you go. Maybe a cornerback, which is what Misador would say, or possibly a safety. I'm on with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about here. So we read that comment there. Let's go out to Giovanni. Hey, Bucs fans, we're going to win this game. I think it's Bucs 28-3 over the Falcons. I know that score from somewhere, so I like it. Let me go on to Ben Cornett. Mike Evans is definitely a Hall of Famer. Now, as far as first ballot, not so sure. I would say second ballot for sure. And see, this is where I kind of get confused, because to me, already he's first ballot. But if he ties or surpasses one of the greatest, not only wide receivers, but players in the National Football League's history, book it, Dano. I'll steal Leo's word there. He's definitely a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. What do you say, Ray?
First ballot, go back and let's just, if the Hall, but then again, we'll talk about what the college football playoff committee did to playoffs, what they did to the Seminoles. The truth of the matter is, go back to Texas A&M. He made Johnny Manziel Johnny Football. I mean, this kid's been doing it, and we talked about this the other day. This wasn't just his 10th 1,000-yard season. It was actually his 12th 1,000-yard season, because he had 2 1,000-yard seasons before he left A&M, and that was with Johnny Manziel at quarterback, and Lord knows what that cat eating hot dogs in the end zone over him in the USFL was doing. But the fact of the matter is that, it's not just that, it's also the character, that what this kid means and what Mike Evans has been as a person, as a man, and a football player. And he continues to do it. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if it's the Tom Brady and, taught him how to do it right. And, Mike's talked about the effect that Tom Brady had on teaching him how to eat right and, do the right things. But I mean, there's been times he's had a couple of drops, but, he's not had had the hamstring injuries, knock on wood, and he seems like he's getting better at the ripe old age of 30. I mean, 30, come on, at 30 years old, his engines are just getting started. I think before all is said and done, regardless of where Mike Evans plays in 2024, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
All right. I agree with you on that. So let me go out. Pay Mike Evans ASAP. Roger Shue says Godwin needs to tell her to shut him up. He's not going to do that. You see, this is the reason why you're single in the first place there.
Sleeping single in a double bed.
Every game I watch, Godwin's been our number 2. It's what this is what Evans got hurt in a game, even ejected against the Saints, that we don't have no more passing game. Godwin is not a downfield threat. When Evans is not against the defense stacking the box, it's no one to double in their mind. Godwin can take the top off. He's just great in between the line of scrimmage for 15 yards. I think that's a fair assessment. He's never been a guy that's been, a blazer, or it's going to, you take the top off of a defense with his speed. He's always been a guy that's been cunning. He's been able to get separation. And again, it goes back to the slot. So they're playing him more outside. Is it the injury? Is it the knee? Is it stuff that's catching up with him? It could possibly be. It could, but you look at the tape, he seems like he's getting open. He seems like he's getting separation. He's just not getting targeted by Baker Mayfield. Bucs.
And again, that's something from reading in the pocket. And again, here's the thing. Knock on Baker. He's not an RPO quarterback, but he does. And I said this when they signed him back before the season. I said Baker does his best. His best play is off script, and that's just the way. He's got a fantastic arm, and he's got cojones the size of basketballs. But Baker Mayfield's and that's one thing, Peter. Let's be honest. I've heard people say, "Oh, well, the Buccaneers' offensive line has let him down." You can't teach offensive linemen to block a moving pocket unless you're running an RPO. You're we're gonna shift to the right. So this offensive line, they grade out on PFF. They actually don't grade out as one among the worst offensive lines in the National Football League. The fact of the matter is, you have a quarterback who feels most comfortable moving out of that pocket, and that's the reason why you may think they are, but they're not the worst offensive line even in the NFC South.
You just hope this doesn't snowball. And I think that's what that Todd Bowles was asked a couple of weeks ago. Is this going to snowball? And it's not going to snowball, but it's kind of starting to snowball here, and you don't want it to snowball with the locker room and everybody else being upset and frustrated. Bucs need to put 8 and 9 men in the box. Good stuff. Christopher Cole, game on. I was at the game besides Baker throwing to Evans for a touchdown. Baker run at the end, plays bad. Todd Bowles in his D. Okay. All right. Agree. If we lose, KT should be a starting quarterback, but Todd Bowles will not do it since he is afraid of losing his job. Game on again. Canales is playing Godwin the wrong position. That's what I've said. Bowles is misinformed by his coaches. Dave says, Peter, you've been to the games, and I'm just seeing it on TV, but when Baker rolls out or starts to scramble, it looks like our wide receivers just stop their routes. They don't try to fight their way open. And, to that point, when he's running out of the pocket, the wide receivers definitely have to continue with trying to get open and helping their quarterback out. You have to do that. So, again, there's all kinds of struggles with the team offensively. We knew that there were going to be struggles early, but now it's week 14. Now it's time to put up or shut up. No more excuses. Put some points up, score some points, run the ball, not turn over the ball 4 consecutive games, which is what Baker has been doing. Canales not helping this offense. Palmer should be on the outside, stretching the field and let Godwin cook in the slot. Exactly. Godwin's wife, I think, is done with Bowles. She's calling his BS out. Absolutely. We talked about that. Trey Palmer is 6 feet, 4.33 to me. That's fast enough to be on the outside. Agree with you. I mean, I don't know why. It's all money, says Adam. I think that's about Florida State. Bama has no rights. That's what I said, Peter. Florida State needs to opt out the night before. Screw them at the last second. They did. I mean, just do it. Just take a knee. Or say you got COVID, or say you got offended, okay? And then they can't say nothing. What are they going to say? Oh, well, this team refused to play. You know what? You refused to put this team in there who earned the opportunity to play for a national championship. Screw you. Let's go on to Eric. ESPN sucks. Eric again. ESPN said today about FSU. Yep, Desmond Howard saying in so many words, yes, they wanted an SEC team. That would be the College Football Committee. Good stuff, guys. Thank you. Roger Shue says, hey, Ray, Tim, Complimentary football would be nice. It would be. We've been talking about it over and over again. And, last couple games, they've kind of maybe started to turn the corner. My eternal optimism hopefully will be realized on Sunday versus the Falcons. Bucs win no more than 7 games, says Roger Shue. Agree, Tampa Bay Ray?
Well, if they lose in Atlanta this week, obviously that's the best they can do. And the reason why I said it is because you still have the Packers, you still have another game against the Panthers, you still have another game against the Saints. The truth, the thing is that it's just, it all comes down this week. And we always say that what's the most important game? The next game. They've got to go. And Arthur Smith, they're gonna Jonnu Smith, they got Kyle Pitts, they're gonna find and they're starting to learn how to use Bijan. They're going to figure it out at some point. I don't think their defense came along as far as we thought before this season that the Falcons would come in 2023. So from that standpoint, the Buccaneers have a chance. But, the thing is that you talk about snowball. I haven't seen the defense give up on the offense or the offense give up on the defense. I've seen the defense, get burned in the second half, and I've seen the offense struggle to find a rhythm. But, if they don't get out there in Atlanta on this Sunday, if they don't go out there and really start performing, that snowball, especially just with it's only a player's life at this point. But, at the end of the day, you start letting that genie out of the bottle, it's hard to get it back in there. So I think that this is a good thing, Bucs fans, if, Mrs. Godwin or whomever's out there calling them out, because it is time to put up or shut up. You guys, half of this team has got a Super Bowl 55 ring. Half of this team is a veteran-led team. And the problem with this team is that the leadership doesn't come from the coach. We got guys with C's on their jerseys, but Baker's new. He's not really screaming at anybody. Tristan Wirfs is just Tristan Wirfs. You got Levante. You got the guys that have the C's, and they've earned it. But we have nobody. We don't have an Uncle Monty Kiffin out there that's busting chops. We don't have people out there that are laying down.
Well, let's put it out there. You don't have JPP. You don't have Ndamukong Suh. You don't have leaders holding other guys accountable, and that's the problem with this coaching staff. If you're
Tom
playing
Brady.
bad, right? You don't have Tom Brady.
Right?
You don't have that accountability factor. And if Todd Bowles would sit some of these guys down, which he did with JTS playing a Yaya Diaby, and there you go. The rookies, starting to flourish a little bit, and you have Kalijah Kancey, which is the future of this team. But you have to have accountability. And it starts with either the leaders on the team. And if there are not enough leaders in that locker room, then the coaching staff has to do a better job.
Even Dave Canales, he still looks like the cousin that was invited over to spend the night at the house. It's like he's a good guy, he's a good looking guy, dad coach and all. But even he looks like, and you don't want to see him overstep his boundaries, because at the end of the day, it's a hierarchy, just like the military. But the truth of the matter is, I don't know if it's maybe Tom Moore on the sideline or Harold Godwin in the locker room. We don't see anybody out there vocal. We see, Devin White before and after the game trying to do his thing. And, of course, we know where Devin White in that question lies. But the fact of the matter is, we need to see some dogs step up and lead this team. And we'd love to see it from the coach. We'd love to see it from the head coach. If we could see Todd, and I don't want to see it just because Todd Bowles feels like he needs to do it to save his job. I just want to see him out there holding guys accountable, not physically, but verbally, letting them know that they're not achieving where they need to be, and question them out there. I think that in that standpoint, win or lose, Bucs fans start to go, well, okay, at least guys are being held accountable. We're all held accountable in our daily jobs and our lives. We want to see our team held accountable. And sometimes it's not that we don't think these guys are doing the right thing. It's just that it feels like no one's holding them accountable. So when we lose or we have, misfortunes or sidesteps, we feel like, nobody's actually, no feet are being held to the fire. And at the end of the day, that's a hollow and empty feeling.
It is. I tell you what, stand by here. Let me put you in the lobby really quick. I want to go out to Ryan Neese, former Super Bowl linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was on the J.P. Peterson show today. We talked about Devin White, and I asked him, what he would do or what he thinks Devin White needs to improve on with his game here on the sports web, the evolution of sports talk television.
It's a great perspective. I think people have from the time that he came into the league have been blown away by that athleticism, his power, his internal motor. When he goes. And the one thing that I've seen to me is being patient, which is a weird thing to say. But I'll never forget, there was a move that, if you guys look back at old tape of Derek Brooks, Derek would take a quarter hop, a slight bounce in right when the snap would start. And that little slight hop would give him the ability to be patient, and then he would explode and go to where he would need it. That ability to be patient and observe the situation and the play, I think could help. And I think it's a hard thing to do, because you want to just go and you think you want to be as disruptive. But the times that I've seen him make mistakes and get out of position is because he hasn't assessed the entire situation too quickly, and all of a sudden he's moving too fast, and it's hard to correct when you're going as fast as he does.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of sports talk television. Let's bring back Best of the Bay right there, Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. What's going on? I have no sound here. What's going on here, bud? Okay, and we got no sound. Yeah, no sound. Okay. All right. So we will, I guess that's it for Tampa Bay Ray for the night. Say goodbye to him. Thanks a lot for coming on. So it's interesting, what a former Super Bowl linebacker would say about Devin White, not patient enough. So, all right, we'll go back out and read these comments, and then we will get out to Baker Mayfield's presser today. And then, of course, the return of Turnbuckle Talk with WWE. And, of course, AEW action with, of course, the bodyguard of the Berg, Mr. Ralph Williams, and Mr. Mark Mancini of Mancini Media. So let's see here. Timeout, Todd. It's like he's collecting Infinity Stones. He did call a timeout versus the Panthers, and he also challenged that play from Mike Evans. So who knows? Maybe it's changing, but you're exactly right. Collecting timeouts like Infinity Stones. Very good, Dave. I know this is not going to happen, but how pissed off would Gator fans get if they put in that third guy instead of Kyle? Yeah, John Wolford, they would definitely be upset about that. I agree. Always tag Mike Evans. I don't know if they're going to tag Mike Evans. They don't need to tag Antoine Winfield Jr. at this point. Maybe extend him, but he's not coming up for free agency. I've said the same thing. Evans made Johnny football. He did. David says, I completely agree with you, Ray. We have no dog on this team. You need more dogs on this team. You do. You need more veteran leadership to hold these guys accountable. I'm not saying Levante David can't do that, but he's not really that type of guy, right? He's not going to get into your face if you do something wrong. He's not that guy. He's been on this team for a long time, but you don't have enough of that. That's what you're missing with the JPP. That's what you're missing with the Ndamukong Suh. That's what you're missing with the Tom Brady. You're missing that veteran leadership to hold guys accountable in case they don't do their job. Because if they don't do their job, then they're going to be, called out in that locker room, or called out on the field, or called out in a press conference, which is what BA used to do. The Packers are looking to be quarterback rich once again. Imagine sitting a quarterback on the bench for 2 to 3 years behind a quality NFL quarterback. Then you get him out there. Love has had his problems, but he's starting to look like a franchise quarterback. They know what they're doing. We'll see. We'll see what they're doing, but they did the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. They let him sit behind Brett Favre for a couple years, and guess what? Presto, Aaron Rodgers turned into a pretty damn good quarterback. So they definitely know what they're doing. It certainly seems like. Eric says, who's better, OC Leftwich or new OC? I'm still thinking the new OC is better than Leftwich. I still think that. Bucs will win this Sunday 28-17, says Mike D. Roche. Thank you, sir. Dave, let's see, how different would this O-line be with Jensen? I mean, I think it's the major loss of the season for this offensive line, Dave. It's definitely hurt him. The veteran presence, I mean, that's one of the players we're talking about, right? Keep you accountable, attitude, athleticism, physicality at the point of attack. He helps this running game out. You become more versatile if you have Jensen, and now you don't. You have to play Robert Hansey. And the interior line has struggled mightily when it comes to the running game, although the last couple of weeks they've done a good job, fair job. Let's see if they can continue that momentum. Let's see if they can run the ball. Let's see if they're committed to running the ball, like Harry the Greek, my co-host, always says. Run the ball more. Get rid of Shaq Barrett. He's done nothing this year. He's definitely had a rough year. And Bruce Arians back. I don't know about that. Tell you what, let's go. Let's take a break. Let's go out to Baker Mayfield and his presser today on the evolution of sports talk television. Keep it locked.
For a while now.
What was it like when she broke the news to you?
I was in shock. To be completely honest, it was during training camp. I had sent her a picture outside of our hotel. There was a Golden Doodle Puppies sign with the number on it, and I sent her a screenshot of that. And then 2 days later, I go to the house, and she put a Big Brother shirt on our dog. So I start looking around for a puppy, not seeing the ultrasound and the positive pregnancy test right in front of me. So, yeah, I was in the doghouse for a little bit on that one, but it was, just complete shock. But so blessed. Obviously, it's much more to life than just football. So it's one of those things that we're extremely happy about. I know, girl dad. You wrapped around her finger, just completely screwed.
When you look at this game, it's going to feature two of the absolute best safeties in the game, right? Winfield at your team, obviously, but what Bates has been able to do in his first season in Atlanta. Can you just speak to that? How dangerous he is? You got to win.
Yeah, he's. I know I mentioned this the first time we came around. I've played him a bunch of times when he was in Cincinnati. Extremely smart player, obviously athletic, but extremely smart. Knows how to pattern read. Knows how to get everybody else lined up, and just always seems to be around the ball, making plays on it. So he's one of those guys you got to know where he's at all times. When you're going through your progression, he's going to be reading your eyes. So have to be smart when you're moving through the field.
You look at this as the game of the year for you guys because of the impact it can have on obviously your chances.
Yeah. I mean, I said it, but the one game at a time mentality, they're obviously leading the division. So it's divisional games are already important, but obviously where we're at right now, extremely important for us. And just got to be singular focus on any way we can beat the Falcons. Got to find a way.
What's changed for you and what's changed for this team since the last time you faced them?
Yeah, we're definitely just a lot better on offense, looking at it detailed wise, and just the understanding of everybody knowing what exactly we're trying to get accomplished. So, the first game was a little hard to watch film wise, just going back through it and seeing the improvements that we've had. So, but they presented the different issues for us that we had to learn from, some blitz package issues, and they held us, to a pretty low score. So, got to go in and improve, learn off of that game plan, but also, them not having Grady Jarrett's a little different. They've had Street come in and play really well for him. So we're both different to a certain extent. And so just got to look at the new tape and grow and learn from there.
In that Falcons game, Mike went through your best with the touchdown, almost had 100 yards. He's just been so consistent. Wearing that Superman paper for you. But is this the game where you're going to have to find another superhero on offense to come alongside Mike and have another great type of performance?
This is one of those games that, obviously he's been the main guy for us. So everybody's got to be ready. Everybody's got to be ready to step up. Not to, harp on your question. Nobody needs to be a superhero, but just do your job consistently. And I think that's one thing that we can look back at the tape from the first Atlanta game is everybody do your job consistently and good things will happen and the rest will take care of itself.
Is there a reason why Chris's production has decreased so much this past month? Something you can put your finger on, something you guys are working to get him more involved?
There's been opportunities there, but some of the coverages have just dictated where the ball's going. Obviously, we tried to get him involved early, and then the rain kind of made it hard for us just based on our normal game plan that we would have called. But, yeah, he's obviously one of our key factors, so got to still try and find ways to get him the ball. Obviously, you had the reverse for a touchdown, just trying to get the ball in his hands any way possible, and good things happen.
Red zone defense might be what they do best in Atlanta. They held you guys in check the first game. Is there something they do in the red zone that makes them especially tough to get the scores?
Their front and their linebackers make it extremely hard to run the ball just all over the field. But then especially down there, they're just stout up front. They know how to stop the run. They don't have to bring in extra guys into the box to do that. So we have to be good on our targets in the run game. And then in the pass game, just finding completions, getting the extra yardage, just getting upfield immediately and just trying to find ways to end up in the end zone. So for us, it's a good challenge, and it's something that we need to take the next step on.
Had like 9 huge chunk plays in the passing game, over 40 yards or more, and it's tied for the most in the NFL with San Francisco into it. What's been the reason for those enormous plays that you're able to hit?
Guys being in the right spot. Obviously you have certain shot calls throughout the year that you want to hit. But obviously like the last game, you have a play called where the coverage can dictate it being an explosive play. So you have your standard shot plays that you want to get explosives on. Then the difference for us has been some of the just key one-on-ones, guys winning and making those big plays. So it just goes down to guys doing their job consistently, and those big plays will happen if you consistently do that and just keep moving the chains.
Mike doesn't get a lot of this, but when you see him getting man single coverage, does the green light go on?
Yeah.
And are you surprised that he gets that?
Yes and no, because I mean, if you're going to sit there and double team him all game, the ball's going to go everywhere else. But teams are going to roll the dice and take a chance, especially a team like this. They have good corners, so they trust those guys. They want to have them in man match coverages and trust those guys to carry them down the field. So, but yeah, when it's one-on-one with Mike, you're going to take your chances. You're as a quarterback, you're going to want to put the ball in his hands.
How frustrating, Baker, was it watching the films of that first Atlanta game? The opportunities that you had with the fumbles from Ritter, and you end up scoring 13 points.
Yeah, really frustrating. Obviously, it's been the steady growth of this offense. And that was an early game, so just watching that, it seems like a different team now from where we're at. And just like I said earlier, just learning from those mistakes, guys understanding the concepts completely and knowing the little details and things that truly make a difference when you're playing a competitive team like that.
I can watch film. Have you seen Cody Monk really bring that physicality over this last part of this season as opposed to what he was doing?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it to you guys after that San Fran game. You really saw him improve during that game against, obviously a great challenge. So he's continually made that step, and that's something you look for as a rookie. You're finding your way, and then sometimes the light will turn on, and then you can just build on that. And so he's done that consistently. And so, we ask a lot of those guys up front, but Cody's continually improving, and we're really happy about that.
Take a punch too.
He can take a punch. I'm not sure he deserved it, but he took it. He wore it. Didn't knock another tooth out though.
How long were you in the doghouse for that?
Not long. Got out quickly. I got over the no puppy thing pretty quick though. Reality set in. Yeah.
Would that be another goal?
Oh, for me, yes. For Emily, no. Too much running around the house.
Baker, your history of playing teams a second time, do you feel like it's a little bit easier facing a team that you've seen before? Is it maybe a little more difficult because both teams know each other more the second time around?
There's give and take. You can learn from some of the looks and disguises that teams will do, but there's obviously adjustments that they can make, new wrinkles that they might throw in to make it look like something they presented the first time around. So there's always, like I said, give and take. So you learn different looks, you come to expect it, and then just trying to react to whatever new wrinkle they're going to have in. But for knowing defensive backs, it's definitely one of those things. You can look at the film, see how the guys are playing, see how they're playing our receivers specifically, and go based on that. So we always look to improve playing a team the second time.
What do you think is the biggest help so far in getting this running game going?
A lot of credit to the O-line, just quite honestly, just getting the targets right, just all being on the same page and really understanding the concepts of how their tracks mean a lot. And the running back room as a whole has grown a lot, and just understanding how they're supposed to set up these blocks and how they're supposed to play off the combos, and just making a lot more plays in space. And so it's that whole unit, and, not to leave out the tight ends and receivers in the blocking scheme. So everybody's a part of it. And so everybody just being on the same page and getting more reps at it has been the biggest improvement.
Seen in terms of Durham's development from the tight end?
He's a really athletic tight end. I think he brings a different aspect in the passing game as well. Obviously, Cade's great in the pass game, but Payton, you saw in that Indy game, making a great catch over the top of somebody. But he helps out in the run game as well. So he's a versatile guy that is continually learning this offense as well, a young guy. And so, he's continually improved over the year, and that's what you look for.
What can you say about Rachaad White's growth? Because you don't see many bell cows in this league anymore, and he's doing it a second year here, and really this is his first year getting the full go of it.
Yeah, he's continually improved, and obviously a new system for him. Some of the run schemes are similar to what he's done in the past, but like I said, the run game improvement, a lot of that's on the O-line, but also him with his eyes, where he's looking at how to read these blocks. And so obviously he's a special athlete when he's got the ball in space. We know that, but just his improvement on setting blocks up has been a huge difference. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Almost to turnbuckle talk, waiting for Mark Mancini. Ralph Williams is in the back there, but we got to get this guy on. I got to get his thoughts on that Bucs win over the Carolina Panthers. Here we go. Mr. Greek himself, Harry the Greek. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television, my friend. How you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Peter. How you doing today, man?
Doing great, buddy. Talking about, of course, the Bucs beating the Panthers 21-18 and the importance of this game on Sunday versus the Atlanta Falcons. But some controversy to kind of start it off here. Chris Godwin's wife not very happy with Todd Bowles. Some comments made already, not necessarily the greatest. And you kind of wonder if this is going to be a sign of things to come, especially if they lose this game versus the Falcons, Harry.
First off, we're going to the Super Bowl.
Please shut up.
I mean, come on, guys.
This guy sucks.
Oh, my God. It was a good win. I mean, that was the game I think that they were going to win. But I don't see them winning another game this season. But if they do, they got to beat Atlanta to start it first, and then they can get on that roll. Right now, Atlanta's pretty hot. And I got to say a very special hello to right there, Mr. Michael DeRoche. Mikey up in Canada.
Yeah.
How you doing, little brother? How you doing? Thanks for tuning in, Mike. Man, it's been a long time. Man, long time. But how is it up there in the Great White North, Mike?
Hopefully it's great. Hopefully it's not too cold. But, I mean, what do you think of these comments from his wife to Todd Bowles? Because Bowles was asked about, why isn't Godwin getting more catches, more targets? And he said in so many words, we're subbing him out. And then you look at the numbers, 52 snaps. I mean, that's kind of on par of what Chris Godwin has done all year long. And yet they're not able to find this wide receiver. And I think he's not fitting in this offense. His natural position is the slot, not outside. They played him more outside this year because they want to avoid injury. But I think maybe to a detriment not only to his career, but to this offense. What do you say?
Anytime, there's always a hidden clause in the contract, and it's never in writing, but it's very well known in all professional sports. You got to put a muzzle on your significant other. That's it. No, on the significant other. I didn't say anything different. Don't say easy. That's the truth. Okay. Even though it was true, that's not supposed to be public knowledge, Pete. Okay. It shouldn't be. But there was a lot of details in that report that only she could have heard from her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there is a lot of truth and there's some validity to it. But that dirty laundry never, ever should have left the clubhouse. Never. Sorry. It shouldn't have happened. I'm going to defend Todd Bowles on that one. I don't care what everybody else thinks. You don't air your dirty laundry out. That's why you don't have a winning team. This is one of the reasons why, because you let your significant other make headlines in the paper. And I want you to think, how well did that bode for a lot of players in the National Football League when their wives or their significant others,
fathers or stuff like that? You never like to see that happen.
It just doesn't. The only time I've ever seen something successful was when Archie Manning did something for his boys. I want you to tell me another one. Did that work well for the Balls and basketball? No. It got them both paid, but one of them hasn't hit the court in almost 3 friggin' years.
Right.
But I implore anybody out there right now that has ever seen something positive when the significant other has something negative to say about the organization and basically calls the team a liar. And I'm going to give you my prediction here, and this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. Do not be surprised if Todd Bowles is not a head coach for Tampa, and do not be surprised that Chris Godwin's still a Buccaneer.
And see, I think it's completely opposite. If Todd Bowles fails, he fails on his own. They're not going to get rid of Chris Godwin unless they feel like.
Why? Because you say so.
No, because he's still a young wide receiver in this league. Doesn't matter what
cares.
I say. What do you mean?
There's not one player. Hold on, Pete. There's not a player in the league that is above the team. They ain't a Tom Brady.
They're not going to get rid of one of their top wide receivers. They already have problems. What do you mean, why? Because
tell me.
If they get rid of him, then you have to draft one. And it basically opens up another hole.
Let me give you a good reason why. And you'll never debate this. And anybody that wants to debate it on me, they're full of shit. Listen, you ready? I'm going to bring up 2 words. Brandon Marshall.
Okay.
Chris Godwin couldn't even hold his jockstrap.
Oh, wait a minute.
Couldn't even hold his jockstrap. And that man was ran out of 1, 2, 3, 4 football teams.
You're acting
because now hold on, because his wife and Brandon couldn't keep their mouth shut. That's the truth. And I like Chris Godwin as a person. His wife screwed up here, not him. And his wife could actually cause him problems for this
The
organization.
comparison of Chris Godwin and Brandon Marshall is laughable. It's not even in the same, it's not even apples to apples or oranges to oranges.
You sure?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm giving you a really good example.
Well,
if they ran,
because Brandon Marshall was a nuisance ever since he got into the league, and he also had mental problems. Chris Godwin has been an upstanding citizen. He's gone about it in a professional manner. He's a top wide receiver. Now, just because he's having difficulty this year, let's
Circle
not
back.
compare him to Brandon Marshall.
Circle back.
I've had something to say, which, by the way, did she really say anything wrong, or it wasn't true at this point?
No. I don't have a problem with what the woman is saying, okay? But not in a public area. That has to be held between closed doors. There is an unwritten rule in all professional sports. Your wife or your significant other does not have an opinion on the management, the state of the organization, or the football team. They don't do it.
I hate to tell you, but we're in 2023 and social media is alive and well, and it's not going anywhere. And if she hears, and again, this may be an extension of Chris Godwin. This may be how Chris Godwin is feeling and doesn't want to come out. I understand it, but she's not saying that nothing is true. I understand your point.
How does it make him look, Pete?
I mean, it makes him look like he's frustrated at this point, which he should be. You're paying him all this money, and you're not.
And let him open his mouth. I'm going to go back to 2005 when Roberto Hernandez, or even just a little bit further back, I'm sorry, when Roberto was the closer here in the Tampa Bay organization, okay? And every year he would donate, I don't know, $500,000, $1 million just from his endorsements, and he would do it to private organizations. And per Roberto, he was very private about it. Well, someone from the organization in Tampa Bay got news of it. And the next thing you know, he's getting ready to come out to close a game, and something comes over the Jumbotron, and it says, please congratulate Roberto for doing A, B, and C. Roberto was taken back by that. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you the parallel here. Roberto went privately, not publicly, and said, look, I don't appreciate what you did, but if you were to, say, match what I'm donating to these organizations, then we can use this and make it public knowledge. Tampa Bay went as far as to cut him that year. Oh, wait a minute. He had 30 saves that year.
Yeah, well, that's the Rays.
Okay, hold on. That's any organization. You don't buck the trend. The moment you do something that's negative, whether or not they're a good coach or a bad coach, it's a black eye in the organization when it comes from someone in the family. I give that man every right, Chris Godwin, to be upset, Pete, for the way they've utilized him. Whether it's true or not, that has to be kept behind closed doors. And I don't care if it's 2020, 2010, or 2050. It doesn't get released. And the two guys that are sitting in the back, Ralph Williams and Mark Mancini, I have a feeling they just might agree with me regarding that. You just don't let it out, even though that they were right. But you know what it's good for, Pete? What you and I are doing right now, bantering back and forth.
Yes.
This makes media. This is what media is made for. And that's why I never try to get involved in crap like this. I hate it. I always have.
Well, we have to talk about it here on The Evolution. What you're watching right now is the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Harry the Greek right now in a passionate discussion in case you missed those comments tonight. And this is in care of Zach Blobner and his Twitter finding this. I think it was on Instagram. Miss Godwin says, I'm not sure why we are just blatantly lying here. Regardless of how banged up Chris is, he continues to work his ass off. He hasn't missed a game, continues to run great routes and get open. I don't know why things are the way they are. This isn't my team to coach. But this lying on Chris is implying negativity on his work ethic is infuriating. Let's not act like he had to be subbed out so much more than usual when, in fact, he's been playing just the same.
Question. Who's to say, and who is she? What is she, a coach? Is she a talent evaluator?
She's his wife, and she has his back. And I understand that. I kind of appreciate it because she met him in high school. She is a real one. She has been with him, and she's going to have his back. I understand that. I also understand the other side of, but, you know, we didn't say this much stuff when Tom Brady and Giselle was saying about Tom Brady.
I said it's Tom Brady.
It wasn't like but it's not a black eye for the Bucs. It's just called being a human being and called being a good wife and a good spouse. That's what it's called. So whether you like it or not, and if the guy is saying, well, we subbed him out, and then you're looking at the numbers, they're the same numbers. He played 52 snaps, even with the neck injury.
Before anybody goes completely bonkers, on my opinion, I want you to think about one thing, and let me make this point valid. Whether or not the wife was right, let me ask you a question. You're not a professional baseball player, and I'm not going to assume that you're a professional athlete in any kind of way. Mark, I don't know what Mark Mancini does for a living. I know Ralph. I know what he does for a living. I know what you do for a living, Pete, but you don't have a significant other. But everybody else that's on this panel, including me and the vast majority of the people that actually watch this program, I got a question for you. Now, I worked for Bridgestone for 16 years. And when I was with this company for 16 years, who my wife does have social media with a huge following, if she was to say, and the reason, by the way, that made some derogatory comment about the company that I'm working for because I wasn't able to get my vacation time, and how dare that, can you believe the guts of that organization to say that Harry can't take his vacation time, or was to say something negative? Do you think I'd be employed? How many people out there can turn around and say that their significant other can say something about the organization that they're working for publicly and be able to survive that? That's the point I'm trying to make.
But this is for the most part sports. This is totally different. This is totally different rules.
No, it's not. And you know what? It's even worse.
It may be.
It's even worse.
We just talked about it. We just talked about how this has happened in the past, and guys have not lost their job. OBJ's not losing his job unless he wanted to get out of there. Was it a distraction? Yes, it was. Again, it happens. All right, let me go back out to the.
And by the way, Chris Godwin was second in targets in that game. Okay, come on.
How many catches did he have in the whole game?
It's irrelevant, but his targets.
No, it is relevant. How many catches did he have?
And Baker Mayfield, and again, I really want to go out after this. Baker Mayfield is not the quarterback that I thought he was going to be. Okay? There's a lot of – because he's just not as good as what he was advertised, okay? And I just went ahead and started watching the tapes again, Pete. He is not seeing these receivers. He can't see over the offensive line. He is struggling mightily, and he's missing the first and second target.
Right.
And he's late on his throws.
Right.
Okay?
He's late on his throws. He may be something that happened to him. I don't know what it is.
But going back to what we were talking, you cannot have your significant other say something bad about the organization. You can't say it's different because it's the National Football League. If you say it's different, you're right. It's worse because they're more in the limelight.
It happens, and I understand where you're coming from, and I understand her side, and I think I understand everybody's side on this. Everybody's frustrated, and you just said it best. Baker's missing not only him. You're not scheming. I don't know what it is, but Chris Godwin's been a forgotten man. Keep in mind.
How about Randy Grimes?
How about who?
How about Randy Grimes? Wasn't it Randy Grimes that had an issue one time?
Randy Grimes. What are you talking about?
With the Buccaneers? I'm almost positive. Wasn't that Grimes?
You're talking, not Randy Grimes. You're talking about Brent Grimes. Yes.
Okay. How'd that work out for him?
Well, he still played. But there was always an issue. They knew there was an issue with the wife.
Yeah,
the
Brent
wife
Grimes.
always talk, but he was, he came back from injury. He was here.
Listen, I am a Godwin supporter.
Right.
Okay. I love the wide receiver, but his wife shouldn't have did that. That is not going to bode well for him in that locker room, and especially with the current coaching staff. And you want to win more football games, and arguably your second best wide receiver is talking shit and trash about your team? Are you serious?
Are you
serious? Out of here, man.
You got no catches to your second wide receiver, and you can't find a way to get him the ball.
He had the second targets.
You got two. Okay, and that's a problem. You got no catches at all. You've got an offense that has been completely frustrating all year long. 2,000-yard wide receivers. You got a coach that refuses not to call timeouts. You got a coach that refuses to hold people accountable when they're not playing well. And you got a coach that has an offense that struggled all year round.
Yeah. Well, last time I checked, what's his name was running for 60 or 70 yards for a touchdown, and Godwin wasn't playing a very good game, and he had the second amount of targets. The best receiver was catching the football games. But you know what the real bottom line is, Pete? How many more games you want to score more than 19 points because they're not.
You got to do it. Because if you can't score more than 20 points a game, then what are we talking about?
You got 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers and a quarterback that can't find his ass from a hole in the wall.
Then you got to make a replacement. Then you got to make a change. If they're
really, I want to hear it out of your mouth right now. Who should be quarterback of this team?
I've already said it. If this team struggles with their offense on Sunday, they lose this game or they have a struggle, I'm calling for Kyle Trask. I am. I'm calling for it. I'm ready to make changes. I'm ready to make those changes. And I said it at the beginning of this show. When I'm ready to go, then I'm ready to go.
Tampa's defense is holding these teams under 19 points.
They're still not doing a good enough job. Let me go back.
But they're holding them under 19. Look at the records of the other teams.
Giving up big plays, and they still have lost games. Enough with the defense is the victim here. The defense is also a big-time problem. Let me go out to the phone line. Let me go out to the phone line.
And they've given the offense the ball 20 times this year.
And I'm not saying the offense hasn't had their struggles, but the defense has also been accountable.
Harry, cut it out.
Mr. Williams, welcome to the evolution. Yes.
What's up, Mr. Williams?
Yes, Mr. Williams. Yes.
Mr. Williams, first off, how you feeling, my brother?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Harry, come on, man.
He said good afternoon, so we already know where he's going.
First off, before you start lambasting me, Mr. Williams, I just want to know how you feeling.
Harry, I'm doing great, man.
Good.
But Harry, come on, brother.
What's up?
Come on now. First of all, that man, it was 52 snaps.
52.
This man ain't had a catch.
Yeah.
This man ain't had a catch, man. Come on now. That woman, who says Chris said anything? Okay, I'm quite sure she's at the game. Her husband out there running all these routes. You can't get the man the ball. Where is your offensive coordinator? Who dialing up the plays, man? Come on now.
Yeah, that's the greatness of an offensive coordinator that the Tampa Bay organization took. By the way, the 14th interview. But go ahead.
Well, you're exactly right, but that was also because of what? Their quarterback situation, because they didn't know what their quarterback situation was going to be, smartass. So let me go back out to Mr. Williams, and I'm
speaking the truth.
I know you're speaking the truth. Everybody's speaking the truth on this show. But here's the thing: everybody will say she should have. Everybody said he should shut her up. First, this isn't the 40s or the 50s. Women are independent, so they're going to say whatever they want.
Will you stop? I'm not even insinuating anything like that.
It's 2023.
That's why you know what? People need to put their big boy pants on and stop being so damn sensitive. That's why I said the word significant other, okay? I don't care about pronouns and everything else that's out there. I wish all that crap would go away.
That's not what it's about.
His significant other shouldn't have said anything about it. You telling me, Mr. Williams, you're going to let your wife speak for you? Honestly?
Go ahead.
Hey, but if she's there, I don't have to say nothing. Because, she's going to say, oh, my man or my husband is out here saying, he's running all these routes. Yeah.
But why does she have to say anything?
Yeah, and with this other remark, man, talking about it's not going to go well for him.
No, it's not.
I disagree.
I feel what do you think the Buccaneers office and their management's going to say? It's okay, Chris.
Chris is going to be there next year, man.
Trust me when I tell you that organization right now is telling Chris to say, hey, Chris, that shit can't happen here no more. You got to tone that down.
All right. If they getting a rough around the neck because of what his wife said, brother,
right?
They might as well go ahead on and get
pack it in.
Gold jacket ready.
Right.
Also,
pack it in, because here's a guy who's had 100 receptions. He's not necessarily having the best year. It's not necessarily all his fault, whether it's injuries, whether it's lack of using him or knowing how to use him. He's still a talented wide receiver in this league. And I feel like everybody's like, well, his wife said this.
It's time for a new quarterback. Derek Carr, when everybody was clamoring for him, including you, Peter. Baker Mayfield, who I said in the beginning that was going to probably end up being a Buccaneer way before it was ever reported. would probably give them their best option. But guess what? We're wrong. And I don't think it's just Baker's fault. You're right. It's got something to do with coaching. But it ain't Todd Bowles who's calling those damn plays.
Well,
let's get that really clear.
It may not be Todd Bowles that's calling the plays, but Todd Bowles is also accountable for not having this team ready on a week-to-week basis, on not having this team with urgency in the first.
Yeah, he's only getting half his team fired up and ready, buddy. That defense is giving up 19 points a game.
Good. Enough of this. Enough of this. I'm not going to hear any more about the defense being.
Well, who hired the offensive coordinator, Pete? Do you know?
I don't care who hired the offensive coordinator. Todd Bowles hired the offensive coordinator. Todd Bowles hired the offensive coordinator. Let's stop defending Todd Bowles. Let's
his
stop
defense
saying,
is good, though.
Hold on. His defense is not good. They're not good. They're not good enough. They haven't been good. You know why? Because they gave up 39 points to the Houston freaking Texans when the offense.
Who's beating everybody, including Jacksonville?
Not a good defense. The defense will go out there and stop them. Stop saying the defense has no
top 10.
The defense has.
Hey, hang on. You and what's his name? PFF grades himself. Top 10 defense, National Football League.
They're not a top 10 defense. I'm sorry. They're not.
They are.
They're not a top 10 defense. They're not.
This isn't the fourth week that they're. This is not the fourth week. What week are we in?
Defense. How many plays have they given up this year? How much yards have they given up this year?
Top 10 defense, 20 takeaways.
Not a top 10 defense. They're not shutting teams down. They're not making enough plays. If they were making enough plays, they would have won.
19 points a game. I got to keep saying it.
Bullshit.
All right.
Bullshit.
20 takeaways, top 10 defense, and 20 takeaways. That's huge.
Doing enough. They're not doing enough. They're
The
not
offense.
doing enough. They're not. The offense is not doing enough, but the defense is not doing enough. Stop putting it on just one side of the ball. Let's stop doing that.
Yards and points.
We don't do this on this show. Okay?
Yes, we
don't
do.
do this on this show. No, we don't. We don't do
We
this.
always do this.
We don't do this. We don't do this on this show.
That's why it's the best show around. You
do
guys
this on
like.
this
You
show.
guys used to like the ESPN one. This has got to be.
We don't sit here and say, well, it's all the offense. The offense is doing it. I agree. The offense has their problems. But let's stop sitting here and saying the defense hasn't made their fair share of plays. Devin White has been a shell of himself. Shaq Barrett has not showed up like he's done in previous years.
So you're saying
injuries.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about ready to see Peter. You're going to see Peter blow up like a rocket when I say this comment. So you're saying you want the defense to score too, Pete?
I want the defense to call some more turnovers and have some pick sixes. Yes, I want.
They got 20 takeaways, buddy.
They need more. They need more sacks. They need more turnovers.
Come on, man. Come on.
They need more.
They're not. They're not the same defense that they were 4 years ago. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
But they're playing
grave diggers, like Carlton Davis said in the offseason. How we're gonna if we're gonna wreck shit, we're gonna do this. We're gonna be a top 10 Super Bowl defense. You can't be losing to a rookie quarterback and giving up 470 yards and giving up all kinds of plays.
All right, I got a question for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Before I can see your little cute vein starting to get a little bubbly above your right eye. How many points has that offense scored off those 20 takeaways, Pete?
Listen, I'm not saying the offense hasn't had their fair share of difficulty.
Are you ready? You want me to tell you? 20 takeaways. You know how many points they've got off of it?
How many points?
30.
Not good enough.
30.
I've said that. But let's not come on the show and say, the defense has done their job because they're holding people wrong for red zone defense. You know why they're holding people in the red zone defense? Because they're giving up big plays. That's why.
Bend, but don't break.
Whatever. Go ahead.
That's the Tampa 2, baby.
No Tampa 2. Tampa 2 is dead. Play Todd Bowles defense. Play Gravedigger defense.
Peter.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Peter.
Yes.
All right. Can you answer one question for me?
Yeah, yes. I need one question answered from the both of you guys. Does it? What wins games? Is it yards or points?
At the end of the season, who's going to be the fall guy?
It's going to be Todd Bowles because Todd Bowles has been given every opportunity. He's had his coaching staff. The excuses were, well, Brady's a distraction, blah, blah, blah. Byron Leftwich. He's had his own coaching staff. His defense has been largely disappointing because of all the veteran talent they have. If you're going to be a top 10 defense or going to be a top 5 defense or Super Bowl defense, you're not allowing the Atlanta Falcons and friggin' Desmond Ritter to go down there and win games.
And don't be surprised. Desmond Ritter takes it and puts it right in their anal canal this week.
Oh, anal canal, you. Go ahead, Mr. Williams. Finish it up.
Yeah, because
they are underdogs, just to let you know.
Well, of course they are.
Played the Houston Texans.
Yes.
All right. You sending Devin White in there on a blitz, right?
I did.
That left that center of the field wide open.
Yes, they're going down the center of the field whether Devin White blitzes or not. He's terrible in coverage.
Yeah,
and you have a coach that continues to play him over and over again and not be accountable for it. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, because
I'm so glad that Sebastian Dennis and Levante David most likely will play this week, so we don't have to hear about Devin White and his lack of effort.
Because like I say, after this year, they need to get Levante Davis' gold jacket ready, man.
Well, I tell you right now, he definitely has an opportunity. I mean, you look at his numbers and the
That's
consistency.
what we're worried about. We're sitting here worried about how many consecutive 1,000-yard seasons a receiver is going to get. The same receiver that everybody, including on this platform, that are the fans, are going, he needs washed up. Oh, he sucks. He's gone.
Look, it's
crap. I'm not done. Levante David needs his yellow jacket. How about if we just win the next football game and try to string together about 3 or 4 consecutive wins
it would be
and
nuts.
win a division
That'd be
that
nuts
is
to do that.
and win a division that is the worst in football, and it ain't the defense's fault, okay?
Yeah, it is the defense's fault. It's the offense's fault. It's the special teams' fault. Enough with blaming this and that and the other thing. And, you know, there's people out there. Hold on. There's people out there that'll bang on a quarterback but won't use the same friggin' energy to bang on the defensive leader on this team. I hear nothing but crickets about that.
Crickets.
Nothing but crickets.
Can you give me some crickets, Pete?
Sorry.
Come on, give me the crickets. There you go, Pete. That's cathartic.
Everybody out. Everybody out has been.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is how you know when Pete's all pissed, because when he's done with his sentence, he touches his nose and goes like that, don't you, Pete?
I really do. I feel sorry.
Such an asshole. All right, Mr. Williams, I appreciate the call. You definitely have to call back. Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Williams, we love you. You got to go now.
Yes, Mr. Williams, love you, brother.
And Mr. Williams, give me a little bit of that because it really smells good over here.
You shut up and be quiet, Harry. See you later. Let me go out to Jim. Jim, go ahead.
Puff, pass, baby.
Sports Web. Shut up. Go ahead, Jim. Jim.
Hello?
Damn it, Jim. Yes, stand by. Hold on. Caller, I know you called in. Stand by. We'll put you on hold. Let me come out to Jim first.
Ralph and Mark don't even want to be part of this conversation. They are sitting in this back room like this going, oh, my God.
Stand by. We're having one of our great debates here on the Sports Web. Go ahead, Jim.
I want Ralph and Mark in here.
You know I like Todd Bowles.
Yeah.
And he is no longer the defensive coordinator. He is the head coach.
Well, he's a defensive coordinator, too. He's calling the plays.
Yep, he sure is.
He's calling the plays. Yes, he is calling.
He got to do it.
He's a head coach. He's okay, but that's not my fault, okay? He is the head coach of this team. If he wants to relinquish Leo Word, his defensive coordinator possibilities, then put it on some other coach if he can't handle it. He is the defensive coordinator on this team. He is making the defensive calls, and he is a direct reflection of this defense. You know why? Because if Devin White, your defensive leader, were playing better, this defense would be better. But you know what? He's not, and yet he continues to start until he's not starting because of injury.
You going to sit down Devin White?
Yes, I'm going to set down Devin White if he's not playing up to Sebastian Dennis for J.J. Russell. Or J.J. Walker, if you want to. The way J.J. Russell played last week. He played much better than Devin White.
Oh, yeah. You liking that?
Stir it up, but it's
I'm the chef of the poo-poo soup. Peter, while the caller is on here, and I don't want to be rude to them anymore. No. It's 5 minutes to 11. It's way past my bedtime, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. I guess, Pete, you want the defense to score the points too. Peter, I'm just going to help you take into the show a little bit. I want to bring in Ralph and Mark. Let's get them involved in here. I know they want to talk turnbuckle talk, but you know what? These are two of the smarter guys that I know, including you, that actually know something about football. So I want to add to the screen in the bottom left corner, Mr. Ralph Williams and Mr. Mark Mancini. And you know what, guys? I'm sorry you guys had to hear this for the last hour, but I got to have an honest opinion. Ralph, does the defense need to score more points for this team to win some football games? Yes or no?
Somebody has to do something because, they're obviously not doing anything, and the Steelers are in the same boat, so it doesn't make any difference. I mean,
you've been banging.
I'm glad Sebastian Dennis is starting from Pitt.
Yes,
So I'm glad
thank
for
you.
that.
'Cause I think he'll probably play better than White. Jim, go ahead. I'll go out to Mark in a minute, but Jim, go ahead, finish up. I know you want to say something. Say it.
Man, our offense need to score points. I don't care
Well,
what.
I agree with that. I mean, I'm not.
Need to get his head out of his ass.
Listen, I'm not saying the offense is, without fault here. I am. They're definitely on fault here, and I've said
not
it
at all,
before.
man. Not at all.
Listen, Harry, you've got selective amnesia, or you got the.
Oh no, you know what, Pete? You know what the problem is?
What
Pete?
happens when you bring in?
You know what the problem is?
Because
I believe, Pete, you once said to me and to everybody out there, wasn't it you that said that Devin White was the best pick, or was it Quentin Nelson? Which one was it?
No, well, I actually said, here's what I said. I said
Okay,
I wanted Quinnen Williams.
But now White's not good.
No, wait. Don't put words in my mouth here.
I'm asking. I could be wrong. I'm just asking.
Listen, you're like one of those Karens on the phone that I talk to every
Karens. Oh, here we go.
Ask me a question.
Easy now. Remember, man, we're in the 20th century now.
Listen,
21st.
Shut up. You asked me a question, I'm going to go ahead and answer it. At the time, I wanted Quinnen Williams or I wanted Josh Allen, not the quarterback, but the defensive end from the Jaguars. But when Devin White came into the league, he was the player for this team. He was. For some reason, he's regressed, whether it's contract, whether it's injuries, whether it's, deep offensive coordinators catching up on his tendencies. He's not the same player he was in 2020 in that postseason.
All right. Okay. Now I want you to tell everybody out there what I said before the season because he was begging for his contract. Go ahead.
I don't remember.
Go ahead and tell me what you said. I do remember. I said, don't be surprised the guy lays an egg this year because that's just the type of character that he is.
Well, and you may be right because the tape definitely doesn't lie. All right, Jim, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. Let me go back out to the phone lines. This guy's been waiting. Mark and Ralph, I'm sorry. We'll definitely
No. Don't be sorry. They're enjoying this. They just want to be part of this.
Okay. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Part of it.
What's your name?
It's Edson. I called a few weeks ago.
What's going on, Edson?
Hey, Ed, how you doing, buddy?
Where do you stand on this whole thing with Chris Godwin's wife and the defense and the offense? Whatever. Go ahead and unpack it.
Okay. Well, Harry, nice to meet you. I was waiting to actually get up on here and talk with you because that comment about Chris Godwin not being able to hold, Brandon Marshall's jockstrap is blasphemy. But
blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Let's compare the two wide receivers.
Say that. That's crazy to say that. But we'll just move past that because that's your opinion.
Right.
Now, as far as the Chris Godwin and his wife thing, you're absolutely right. She just needs to shut up. That's not her.
Thank you.
She's not a football player.
Edison.
That always causes up. Peter, I'm gonna get to you now.
Okay.
That always causes turmoil in the locker room. It does not matter if she's right or wrong. She's not an NFL football player, and she doesn't have a contract. She does not need to be voicing her opinion nationally like that. She does not.
And you know what? I will apologize for the comment that I made that he couldn't hold his jockstrap. Brandon Marshall is a better wide receiver, but I was trying to give an example. You were very correct, and I need to be corrected on that. But thank you for going and standing up for me.
I'm just biased in that. I think Chris Godwin's awesome, but I may be a little biased in that.
That's all right. Now, you can be biased on this show. Not a problem. I'm biased too. Yes.
Something that you said.
Yes.
That would totally makes sense that everybody blames the offense.
Yes.
And that's not the case because sometimes Baker Mayfield has a decent game.
Yes.
He does.
Yes.
And the offense has a decent game. And that fucking defense fucking blows it.
That's it. There you go. That he said it. He said it
after 11.
He said the F word.
It's after 10. He said the F word.
Edison, that's how a lot of Bucs fans feel. And you know what? I think it's fair.
This is the one that I hawk on all the time. Carlton Davis he needs to go.
He's not been good.
Carlton Davis is not a good quarterback.
Ladies and gentlemen, comment of the night. Love this, and I love the name.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. That's basically all I wanted to say. I love talking with you guys. To say that both of you guys had great arguments.
Thank you.
I didn't really hear too much from the other two guys. But
yeah.
They're just being kind of quiet.
Yeah, Todd Bowles is here in Tampa because of Bruce Arians, and he's always been behind Bruce Arians. And then Bruce Arians at Tampa made him the head coach because, you know, Tom Brady wanted him to be the head coach. And there we are. And now you're stuck with him again because he failed at the Jets and he's failing here in Tampa.
All right.
And they have great talent evaluators with offensive coordinators.
Well, not only that, you know.
Hold on, Edison. I want you to finish, but go ahead, Mark. Go ahead and chime in here on this.
Well, no, Edison, you know, here's a respected caller. He sounds like he's sober, might be a designated driver. The other two guys, I think they might have started, you know, happy hour about 7 this morning. They might have passed out. They might be in line for being third-string quarterbacks for the Tampa Bay Bucs Sunday.
Easy now, easy, Mark. What did you have to? By the way, we got breaking news right now in the baseball
Chris
world.
Benson's wife is coming to Tampa.
Chris Godwin's wife is apologizing on Twitter.
No, listen,
Okay.
listen. Hold on, guys. Before we go to that, Edison. Breaking news right now in baseball: the New York Yankees have made a trade for Juan Soto from the
they did get him?
Padres. They have got him. Yes.
They got Juan Soto.
Hey, it's breaking news. Breaking news in LA. They shut the team store and they canceled tours at Dodger Stadium. Shohei Ohtani.
And I already heard they're eliminated. I heard they were eliminated from the playoffs already too.
A model. Wait a minute. I want to use the term model organization for regular seasons. That's the new slogan that's going out on Dodger Stadium.
That is a Dodger hater. That is not breaking news. Edison, go ahead. We shut up. Be quiet.
This guy really quickly about
at least the Dodgers make the playoffs. I have to live with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They don't beat anybody.
Hey, wait a minute.
All right, guys, hold on. Let Edison finish. Go ahead, Edison.
Really quickly about Chris Godwin and his wife thing. Like I said, she was wrong to do that, but those are feelings that he's expressing to her.
Well, that's what I think too. Yeah.
I think those are real feelings that he's having.
Yep.
But like I said, she wasn't supposed to go out.
This guy Edison that's calling just completely killed the argument. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, he didn't kill my argument. I just said, look, she's his wife. She's gonna
killed the Chicago Bears.
Be quiet and shut up, Mark and Ralph and Harry. Be quiet.
I'm not saying a word.
You know what? You're ready? Guys, you ready? Here comes the hijack.
I put my mic on me.
Harry, how do you guys like that? Now we got the real show. I'm only kidding. No, Pete, let me bring you back in. I'm sorry. And I'll bring you back to the host. Pete hates the fact that I have controls.
Well, listen, Edison, go ahead and finish up here, my friend, because you're a great caller.
Yes, he was.
I was already done, man. I was just, hey, we just got to go hard this Sunday. Hopefully, we'll beat the Falcons. If not, then let's pray for a low draft spot, a high draft pick.
I've been telling you this for 3 weeks.
All right, Edison, appreciate the call as always. Ralph, I was joking around. I hope you don't take that. I tell everybody to shut up. So
I just got a text message from Peter. It says, I really wish the Mancini brothers would just shut the hell up.
Yeah, well,
not what I
read it.
I just got some more breaking news in LA.
What's that?
If the Lakers win in Vegas the in-season tournament, they're going to shut Hollywood down and have a parade.
And you know what else I heard? I heard the Tampa Bay Buccaneers want their defense to score all the points so they can win games.
No,
I
did not say
I'm getting off now, and I'm just going to. This is my time. This is my time.
Getting off
before Peter. Listen, at least I can though. Okay, but we're just saying that. Okay, I mean we're not going to hold that against you, buddy. Okay.
Peter looks good. He's on the field at Tampa.
He looks good, buddy. He looks good.
Man, hair slicked back.
Yep.
I'm waiting for Aaron Andrews to come up and ask you for an autograph.
Thank you.
Listen, I'm going to let you guys talk a little turnbuckle crap. And I mean turnbuckle talk, not crap. That was really
why? Why do you always have to down this wrestling segment? What did it do to you, my friend? What did it do? We had Steve Mongo McMichael was a wrestler, by the way.
You know what? Harry's not part of the NCAA committee, the National Clown and Amateur Association.
Whoa, that was good. That was very good. All right, Harry, go ahead and wrap this up, my friend.
I'm gonna wrap everything up. I just want you guys to know, as Peter would say, or I'm sorry, my old friend Rick Hughes, go Bucs, Go Bucs. Go Bucs. Get
Oh,
the hell
geez.
out of here. Go Bucs. Look, man, if they don't win this game, you want them to lose the rest of the year. Seriously, bottom line. You do. You want them to lose the rest of the year, but it's time for a quarterback change, ladies and gentlemen. And according to Peter, the defense has to score more points because they're just not playing
No,
good enough.
I said the
Top 10
defense-
in deep. I'm going to finish. It's my time to get off. Top 10 in defense, 20 takeaways. And last time I checked, it ain't yards.
Hey,
It's
before
scoring some points.
before you go, hey, before Harry goes,
Mm-hmm.
a big debate we were talking about. Who would you take in their prime, Ohtani or Barry Bonds? I'm taking Barry Bonds any day of the week.
Shohei. I'll take Shohei. I have to take Shohei
completely
Ohtani.
disagreeing
Oh, come
with you,
on,
Mark.
Harry,
You're taking
come on.
Shohei Ohtani because he can do both. He can pitch and hit.
That's the only reason
That
why.
that guy's not pitching a
friggin' attitude, and he's
You know
not.
what?
Peter. He's not
I gotta tell
pitching
you,
again. That guy
I
Steven
seen-
Strasburg.
I
Bonds
have
is a
seen.
cheater.
I have. Huge cheater. Listen, and I got a friend that played with Barry Bonds
Barry Bonds. Come
for
on,
a couple
man.
of years.
Yeah.
Okay, and by the way, you ready for this?
Yes.
I seen a video recently with Barry Bonds when he was only 180 pounds and not 240.
Right.
But 180 one year, 240 the next. He didn't cheat. But anyway, he was with Jim Leland with the Pittsburgh
Yes,
Pirates.
I saw it.
And oh my
Yeah.
Lord, Jim Leland was eating his ass
Oh
up
my gosh!
for
it was-
5 minutes. He walks away, and Jim didn't have enough. He came back and gave
He
him a
came
little bit
back.
more, and
Yeah, that was
walked
the
away,
funny video.
and then he came back. And then I love the press conference.
Let me tell you something. How do you give an MVP to a guy that finished in second to last or last place? Isn't an MVP a guy that gets into the playoffs? What's Shohei Ohtani done for the Angels?
Oh my gosh! I mean,
What has he
So, I mean,
done?
what has he done? What
What's
is he?
what's he do-
What
what-
hasn't he done?
An MVP is supposed to resurrect the team, right?
It's all
You
about
don't give it to a last-
championships.
Shohei Ohtani's probably going to go to the Chicago Cubs, more than likely.
Cubs or the Toronto Blue Jays?
You know what? I heard Toronto, but I don't think they're going to spend that kind of money because honestly,
No,
Pete,
Cubs
they
will,
don't.
though.
The Cubs will pay him that money because they can put
Yeah.
the stands and you can put the players in the stand. I would personally love to see him stay in the American League and go to Toronto, but Canada's they don't pack that field up
No.
like they do, and that's the only reason why I think Shohei Ohtani would look great in royal blue and white, honestly. But
I think he's gonna look good
unfortunately,
when he pitches.
They got
He's
Craig
going to win
Counsell
10
there.
games.
He wants to win. So
He's
and
not
Bandit
there's a
Bandit
black
says
cat.
and no,
Is that
that's
the
not a black cat, buddy. This is what they call, he's offended. You
It's
call him
Morris.
black. No, that's this is Bandit.
that's enough of you. All right,
He-
Terry.
he's
agree.
hang on, he's Blackfoot. See, Blackfoot.
Blackfoot. All right.
Blackfoot.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you. All right, Harry. Thanks a lot for your time here. Great
Always a
debate as
pleasure.
always.
You can catch me Monday and Wednesdays live right here on the Sports Web with Peter Blake, and it's going to occasionally with the Mancini brothers, with Mark
Yeah.
and Ralph. I'll tell you what, if you never caught it, you got to listen to Ralph Williams' radio show. Mark, I don't know where the hell you hang out except for a whole bunch of Laker broads hanging around you. I'll tell you what, I'm jealous as all hell because I'm telling you, jealous AF. And Peter,
Thanks, Terry, for the plug. Thank you, man.
not the Chicago Bears, but the Buccaneers defense, if they score 14 points a game, they'd be undefeated. I already know that. But anytime you don't score on offense more than 19 points a game, you ain't going to win many football games.
listen, you
And
scored-
let
you
me be
scored-
last, but say
you
they're
scored-
a top 10 defense.
You
I'm out,
scored
baby.
37. You scored 37 and you gave up 39 there, jackass. Thanks a lot for your time, Harry the Greek. Oh, no.
Fight
Oh, he
me.
came back.
No, fight me. There you go. How about that?
I
Get
can
out
come
of
back any.
here. Get out of here.
Toodaloo.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Really, have a great day. Peter, great conversation. Ralph, Mark, the brothers.
Say hi to Bedard for us.
Connor Bedard. Oh my God, what a stud!
He'll be better. He'll be better than Connor McDavid.
Hey, how about this? Ralph and I talked about his first professional game when he was going up against
Yes.
Pittsburgh. Remember? And I
Yes.
was like, man, this kid is something else. You know what? I'm going to finish the rest of Turnbuckle Talk because I'm going to turn up and go 7-Up in between the sheets. I'm going to put you live on my YouTube TV. For those of you that are out there, make sure you like and subscribe to YouTube. This is when it makes Peter some money. It makes the Greek nothing. But we'll talk to you guys later.
Harry's gonna be in Sarasota trying up for the.
All right, great stuff there. I want to read some of these comments, and then we will get out to Turnbuckle Talk, guys. Thanks a lot for being patient as the commentary here. Jim, just hold up here. I think Godwin's wife is tired of dealing with Chris being down with his usage. It's boiled over to the private life, and she's venting. God knows fans have. Eric says Todd Bowles' reason why we lose games. Mike COCA, we got a legit sports beef. Absolutely. Neil and Carlton at fault. Absolutely. Top 10 defense and points per game. Maybe so. But again, at times when they needed to stop teams, shut down teams, when the offense did their job, which has been few and far between, but when they've done their job, the defense has let them down. I'm sorry, guys. It's not just, one or the other. It's both. It's both units. We all know Bowles is gone after the season, so who does Harry see TV going to try to hire as a head coach? I think you're talking about Jason Light. Let me go out to Mike. I respect that you guys can have a debate and not go after each other's throats. Absolutely. That's what we do here, Mike. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I just say this, the defense against the Texans, that was a shit show. There you go. Christopher Cole, Russell got off a block by an OL, unlike White. Scott Bradford. Wow. The best he got from Devin was 2020 in the playoffs. Yep. Super Bowl, he was awesome. He was steadily declined since. He's a liability in coverage. Does not need to be sat down and benched, by the way. He does need to be sat down and benched, by the way. Bowles is game coaching, managing the game has cost us 3 games this year. And when I was at the draft in Nashville and the inner circle, I wanted Allen, the defensive end. I'm always going to choose the dominant guy in the trenches. As for Chris Godwin's wife, she is voicing her opinion. Great stuff, Scott. Let me go out to Christopher Cole. Another news, the Yankees traded for Juan Soto. We just broke that. Christine Bishop, hello. Hello to you.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go out to Mike DeRoche. Ohtani, Canada bound. Oh, Canada. Padres got a haul, as they always should. And Ohtani will pack the joint. He will absolutely pack the joint here.
Hey, let me ask you something, Peter.
Sure, go for it,
real
Mark.
fast.
Yes.
Out here, they're on Lincoln Riley, and, Lincoln Riley, there's a difference between the fanatic and the fan.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you done for me lately? If there was a 12-team system in this thing and USC got in, let's say at number 11 or something, and ran the table,
sure,
those fans would come back in the Coliseum faster than, a hockey puck score to tie the game and go in extra overtime or something. The fan today is I don't know. It's what have you done for me lately? It's like these GMs that are picking up college quarterbacks. They don't let them carry the clipboard. They don't let them learn. They throw them in, and then when they fail after 5 games, they start the blame game. I mean, it's a total cash grab.
Well, it is, and Lincoln Riley, he's
a great coach.
He's a coach.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
He's a good coach.
He's an impatient team. I mean, USC, you're right, Mark.
The same people that were ripping Nick Saban now we're getting back on his wagon, and I've always been a Saban guy.
Well, they should rip him to a certain degree because you have Caleb Williams who won a Heisman. Your offense kind of takes a step back. Your defense isn't good at all. Hasn't been good the last 2 years. So that's on him. I understand the frustration of the fan. I'm not going to fault the fan on that, but also he is a hot commodity right now in the NFL. And if you ask any NFL GM, he may be, going from USC to an NFL team. With that being said, let's change gears here, shift gears. We haven't gotten a chance to talk in a while, but the big news, it had to be the biggest news, and not a surprise to me, not a surprise to us because we kind of called it. CM Punk back in WWE. They go to the graphic of the Royal Rumble. Everybody thinks it's just Randy Orton, and then all of a sudden, Cult of Personality from In Living Color hits, and that whole crowd, that whole pop just went off in the United Center. Mr. Mark Mancini, your thoughts on CM Punk returning, and then we'll talk about the night after and his promo and what he had to say.
Definitely the voice of the voiceless. This guy's big, man, and, he beats to his own drum, and, here's a guy that walks by himself and trusts only himself. So, I mean, he's going to create havoc in the WWE. The question is, does he come in as a heel or does he come in as a face? They got a lot of faces in there right now. So it's going to be interesting. You can't trust Randy Orton. Randy Orton looks like he might have to work out a little. He's been enjoying the Omaha Steaks a little too much.
I disagree. He looks like
he looks chiseled, man. He looks really good.
I don't,
he looks better than he ever looked.
He looks jacked up. He looks like he's been working out in the gym. I want to read this comment here from Mike D. Roche. Well, again, welcome back to the Sports Web. We love you, brother. Punk and Rollins, is that a feud real or is that just part of a script? I think, you just saying that makes it that much believable, because do I think it's a part of the script? Yes, to a certain degree, but I think there is some genuine heat, because what Punk said, 10, 11 years ago about WWE, some of those wrestlers in the backstage, they took that personal, right, Ralph?
Yes, they did. Oh, absolutely they did. And, Punk made a lot of enemies, both in AEW and in WWE. But the one thing is, though, guys, is that, he has some friends over at AEW that are unhappy with creative, and they're coming over to WWE. You could see Ricky Starks.
Yep.
You could see FTR back.
Yep.
I mean, they're best friends with him. And he'll bring in more wrestlers, some good talented wrestlers as well with him. But a lot of people, say he's a locker room cancer. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I don't think Nick Aldis and Pierce are going to let that happen. I think he's going to be tamed a little bit, and now his wife's coming, AJ Lee. She's going to be there soon too.
He's going to be there soon, and I think because that veteran laden leadership in that locker room won't let him get out of control. But I'll throw this out at you, Mark. What if CM Punk did this on purpose to get out of his contract, because supposedly it was a grand plan to get back into WWE? Do we think that's as far-fetched as I'm throwing it out there? Because I've heard the same type of thing be thrown out there about Vince Russo being hired by WCW at the time, how Vince just sent him over there and he basically ruined WCW from the inside. What if I told you that CM Punk actually met with Triple H, decided to ruin AEW from the inside, and that's why he's now in WWE?
That's an interesting, way of breaking it down like that. But I also think WWE, they fell on CM Punk's terms. I mean, the last time we saw CM Punk, he was outside of Chicago. He was throwing the belt down. He was tired of the part-time wrestler. So it's taken him a long time, almost 2 decades, to get back to WWE. He probably wanted a lot of stuff, maybe private airplanes, maybe private restaurants. Who knows what he wanted? But, with this wrestling industry, you got to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because they could turn on you in a heartbeat. We've seen a lot of guys. We've talked about a lot of guys being ridiculed here and being left for dead, and guys coming in there and being turned inside out. So CM Punk coming back, he knows how much money they're going to make off of him. Believe me, he's going to get a boatload of it.
Yeah, and again, the talk is, and I think this was all set up from before with Seth Rollins and his comments, and then you see the reaction when Punk, and they did that on purpose, Ralph. They did it because it's a storyline and it sells it. Rollins versus CM Punk, you think would be the WrestleMania match. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Punk comes out the next night, cuts a promo. What did you think of the promo where he says, "I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money"? Kind of like it's exactly what Kevin Nash said.
Yeah, Nash said that, and I've had bosses that said that. And when I go to work, when I work a job, I've said, "I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money." And I did that when I drove a cab for 15 years. So, that's not a bad thing to say.
Right.
The thing about Seth Rollins, though, is the reason why he gave that look is because he knows CM Punk's a threat to his title. And, if anybody is, now it's CM Punk. So it's a threat to his title. And Seth Rollins better pray Gunther don't turn that title in, because I'm hearing stories that Gunther wants to turn that title, the Intercontinental title, in and compete for the world title. So, he better watch out with him too. Seth's going to have a lot of challenges coming up.
Well, it certainly seems like, Mark, it's going to be Seth versus CM Punk, but now there's a story out there that booking could actually get Stone Cold Steve Austin versus CM Punk at WrestleMania 40. Would you rather see that match, or would you rather see Seth versus CM Punk at WrestleMania 40? Which one?
I'd rather see Seth and CM Punk. That's more realistic. The other one would be a part-time guy bringing a Budweiser truck into Philly and smacking beers around Philadelphia. So, CM Punk would wipe the floor with that one. Stone Cold's been out of it for a while. I mean, I respect him and everything, but I think the real match would be CM Punk and Seth Rollins.
Okay. All right. And let me go out to you, Ralph. I mean, what do you say? What would you want to see? Would you want to see CM Punk and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 40? Or do you want to see Stone Cold? And
No, I don't want to see Stone Cold. I like Stone Cold. I love him to death. And I used to make money selling his shirts. So I love him to death. But you know what? I don't think that should happen. I'm going to tell you this right now, guys. I have a match that I think it could happen, a fatal four-way with Roman Reigns, CM Punk, LA Knight, and Randy Orton or something like that.
Wow. Okay. All right. All
well,
right.
and also I can see something CM Punk going against Seth Rollins, dropping the belt at WrestleMania, CM Punk winning it, and Rollins going in the sunset to recuperate on his back.
Priest has the case. So don't forget about that. That case is still out there. So.
All right. When Bobby Lashley was asked about CM Punk, he goes, I really don't know him, to be honest with you. I was actually leaving WWE in 2008 around that time when Punk was really starting to pick up a little steam. I mean, he was there, but he really didn't do anything at the time. And I know he had a big impact in WWE in his time there. I spoke with some of the guys that know him, and I got mixed feelings. Some people were very against him. Some people were, whatever. But, it's a land of opportunity. So if he comes back and he helps out the show, that's the business side of it. He also says, for integrity purposes, I understand he has a big name. He's coming back. He's going to do some big numbers. But I hope they make him kind of work for some of the stuff. I hope he's not one of the people that's, okay, he comes back. He's going to win the Rumble. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I mean, what do you think of Bobby Lashley's comments here, Mark? I mean, doesn't certainly seem like, once again, there is kind of some jealousy there with the locker room. We've heard, nothing to that. We've heard, there's a lot of people that are happy that he's back, some people that are not happy. I think this is more of a storyline to create. I don't necessarily think he's rubbed all these wrestlers the wrong way. And that probably wasn't the best pun to say.
It's jealousy's human nature. We've talked about that before. And when you look at any business, you're always going to get those haters, and you either embrace it and move on. Don't get caught up in the drama. Just go do your job. Like, you guys have said earlier, and worry about you trying to succeed. If you stand here and worry about what people think of you and what they're going to think of you, you can have a lot of Excedrin on hand to put in your mouth to combat them headaches. But if I'm at CM Punk's thing, I'm just there doing my job and, next man up attitude. That's the way I look at it.
I want to go back out to Ralph here. I want to finish up with the comment. He says, I hope they give him an opportunity to kind of prove his loyalty to the business. Some of the people in there just let everybody know, some of the naysayers, some of the people that aren't too happy about him being here or being there. I hope he has the opportunity to work his way back up to the top, not just be given everything because maybe he's negotiated, a good contract that allowed him to do that. Your thoughts?
I think if he doesn't jump ahead of other people who deserve an opportunity and he works for it, such as I heard the first feud he's going to have is with Dirty Dom. So that's a way to get started with Dirty Dom, and who knows, maybe JD McDonough next. I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I would like to see him work his way up and not just be handed the keys to the castle.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair to the other wrestlers.
But I think a guy like CM Punk, he's proven himself. He doesn't have to pay.
Yes.
He has nothing to prove to these wrestlers that don't believe in him. I get it. He made some comments that were disappointing. But the fact of the matter is this, guys, the reason why you bring CM Punk back in the first place, 71 million views. 71 million views of that return video. I mean,
wish I had 71 million views.
Who's to say CM Punk's a bad guy? Jim Leland once said, if you missile a player, you lose him for life. If you tell him the truth, you lose him for 24 hours. So CM Punk tells the truth, lays it out there. So be it. He's not calling these guys out behind closed doors.
Yeah. Well, it certainly seems like Vince McMahon is going to continue to run the business, although he's not going to run the creative.
I have a prior obligation 11:30, so I have to get off the air.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. Ralph Williams, appreciate the time, man. I'm sorry about the wait. Thank you very much for being on Turnbuckle Talk. We'll have you back next week. All right.
Yeah, have a great one, Peter. Mark, have a good night. Thank you.
I love you,
All
brother.
right,
I'll
good
see you
stuff.
tomorrow.
When I told him to shut up, he like turned off his mic. I was like, no, that's a joke. That's what I do to everybody. I tell everybody to shut up. When I tell you to shut up, it means I love you. It doesn't mean I want you.
Yeah, I love you.
Like I say, I love you. Would you shut up? I say it that way. Open phone line. I see you, Jim. If you want to call in, 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. What did you think of the overall pay-per-view? Because it's been a couple of weeks, but what did you think of it? Did you like it?
I don't know. I mean, Gunther won. I mean, you knew that was going to happen. You know, the whole thing with the Judgment Day, I think that's coming to an end. We don't know what Bianca Belair is going to do.
Yeah.
You still don't know the feud between Lynch and Flair. A lot of uneasy things. I will tell you that Bayley's going to turn face here soon because they're going to kick her out of that group.
I'm wondering where Jade Cargill is going to be placed at, because she was on all these shows. She's being promoted, and then all of a sudden reports are that, maybe WWE isn't so, happy with her. Maybe she's green.
Yeah.
Maybe she needs more training. I think she's a superstar. Her look, the way she gets on the mic, does she need a little bit of work in the ring? Yeah, but I think they can teach her how to wrestle. Jim, if she needs help, I don't think she needs any help. Wrestle anybody she wants. Jim, go ahead. Welcome to the Evolution using your second call.
Hey, so CM Punk, is he the most excited thing in wrestling coming back?
He's the best thing right now that's coming back in wrestling. Yes, I mean, he's the most controversial thing that's coming back in wrestling. So it's been very, very controversial if you watched it.
Right. What is Lesnar doing?
What's what?
Bobby Lashley.
Oh, Bobby Lashley. I mean, he has a group. I mean, I don't know what they're really doing with him. I feel like they don't do enough with him. Is that fair? I mean, Jim, you watch wrestling. Mark, do they do enough to book him? Because they were booking him. He was the almighty. And
kind
then
of like a manager now with the Street Profits.
Right.
And
He's kind of cooled on him, and I feel like you're wasting talent. Like, what are they doing with him, Mark? What should they be doing with Bobby
Well,
Lashley?
they should elevate him more and, maybe put him part of the Street Profits and give him a little bit of an edge. But
yeah,
it's almost like a coach or a mascot for those guys. One week he's chiding them, the next week he's giving them high fives, and that's the only time you really see him.
Yeah, and I thought there was really a lot of potential there, Jim, with him making that group, making a Hill group of course, the Street Profits, him,
Bianca.
Yeah, and even Jade Cargill. I think that's where I could see her in the type of group like that. Her and Bianca, they're friends, and then eventually they turn on each other, and it becomes a WrestleMania match. That's what I could see. But first, they start out as somewhat of a Hill group. What do you say, Jim?
Yeah. Whatever they need to do, I think they need to insert that, get some juice in there.
Yeah.
And who went to Florida State? Was that a female wrestler? Was that what's her name?
Oh, Michelle McCool, Undertaker's wife. Yes, she's from Florida State. She was a teacher. Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
She's probably stewing there, knowing that Florida State's out of it.
Oh, she probably is. She probably absolutely. I think a lot of Florida State fans, a lot of college football.
What a travesty that whole thing is.
Definitely a travesty.
Clown show.
All right, Jim. Thanks a lot for the call, man. Appreciate you as always.
All right.
2 calls from him tonight. That's great. Open phone lines if you want to talk about it. I think we're going to wrap this up because I'm running a little bit late myself. Just give me your overall thoughts of the state of wrestling right now. I mean, Randy Orton's back. CM Punk is back. There's an opportunity for Mercedes Moné, the boss, Sasha. God, I forgot her name. Mercedes Moné. You knew what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well,
Sasha Banks to come back.
They're starting to bring the band back.
Yeah, she could possibly come back to WWE. The state of wrestling right now in WWE, what do you think about it?
I like it, and it's heading to, on the road to WrestleMania right when we start the Royal Rumble, so I like it. I mean, it really is. It's going to be big. Philly's a big thing. It's going to be nice to see them all in Philly and stuff, and doing radio in that city's crazy as itself, but I'm excited about that. I mean, I think it's going to be bigger than it was in Los Angeles, believe it or not. It's going to be interesting. I mean, they could have done more in Hollywood with LA Knight and The Rock and stuff.
Yep.
I think they failed to cash in on that one, but I think the city of brotherly love is going to really enjoy it this next year.
I agree with you. Good stuff, Mark. I'm sorry it went so late, man.
Always a pleasure, man. You look good on the sidelines there in Tampa.
Thank you.
I got a ticket that if the Falcons can get to the Super Bowl, I can win 400. So I'm going to hold that ticket, and hopefully the Falcons can do some damage.
Yeah, the Falcons are not doing anything at all, buddy. You're about to lose all that money. You're being the worst handicapper on this show. We went from the best.
I will tell you this for everybody that gets on me for the Dodgers. I just lay the facts down, man. I mean, if you want to hold banners for second place finishes, you can, but they don't win nothing, man. They haven't won anything playing 162 games.
They won a World Series in 2020. So I would
wait a minute. You count 50 games?
I count it, man. Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you before we go. In case they end up winning the World Series in the next couple of years, don't you think they're going to feel so good putting the ghost to rest, saying we all heard about the 60-game season?
I think it's counted. I think it's counted any way it goes. I would take it. I'm a Rays fan. They beat the Rays. If they don't take out Blake Snell, who knows? I would take a World Series championship if I'm the Rays. I would take a $200 million payroll if I'm the Rays, but you have none of that happening right now. Mark Mancini, thanks a lot.
I love you, brother. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. We'll do. Let me go ahead and read this comment here. Why can't Ric Flair just go away already? He's so irrelevant. Yeah, come on now, Ric Flair. Woo! I find Gunther a very boring performer. His promos are weak also. I am not a big fan of him either. Are the Buccaneers going to win Sunday? We shall see, Jim. We will definitely be live after the game. Hopefully the Bucs are going to beat the Falcons. If you guys want to tune in to the show, definitely tune in. Also, the No Quarter Given podcast on the Buck Power Podcast Network, where I will give a prediction. But yes, I think the Bucs can win on Sunday. Will they win? We shall see. Tune in. Thanks a lot to all the guests tonight. Harry the Greek, Leo Haggerty, Ray Kennedy, Mark Mancini, Ralph Williams. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Friend me on Facebook at Peter H. Blake, and do 3 things for me here on a happy hump day edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, it's your time. We'll see you soon on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.